Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. And we're live. Carlos, how you doing?
What's up, Ricky? Glad to be back. I'm doing good. How about you on this rainy Thursday?
Yeah, no, Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yeah,
no, Thursday.
No, Wednesday.
Wednesday? It is Wednesday. Oh, gosh.
Man, we're Wednesday all day.
It's been a week.
Yesterday was Tuesday.
Yeah, see? It's been that kind of week. I legit, these past 2 days have been crazy. I've spent almost over $800 in my car so far.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, I was at work in Annapolis area. Car broke down, had to get it towed, so I had to pay a tow truck to come from Annapolis to Waldorf. Yeah. And then from then, I go to the Volkswagen dealership, and it's like, yeah, it's going to be like around $700 something for your car. I'm like, oh, here's my money in my paycheck.
I'd probably lose a day too if that was happening.
Right, in my mind, I don't know what day it is. Like, it's just to me, it's just the week.
Nope, fair enough. Yeah, let's get to Friday and restart it.
There we go. That's what I'm waiting for. I just need a full restart. Yes.
Well, it's always good to have Carlos back, co-host. Was good, DMV, BNY Network. We got a special guest with us tonight.
Woo!
One time for Ward 2, La Plata, Councilman Patrick McCormick. Round of applause for you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's an honor to be here. It's great to meet you, Ricky, and you, Carlos, as well.
Awesome.
Hearing a little bit about both of your stories off air was really cool and really educational.
Awesome.
Before we dive into tonight, if I may, real quick, this is going to be, I think, an interesting podcast based off of the topic you asked and kind of what's happening in La Plata right now, right? So
set the table.
Yeah, I mean, it's a juicy story. It is what it is, right? It's local politics. There's a little bit of intrigue, and I would argue folks on different sides of what is a pretty important issue. And we're going to have folks that are hearing the story for the first time, so I think it's important to define what happened. You're going to have folks that have heard this story before and are looking for confirmation for sources, and I'll be able to provide all those tonight. Any FOIA request, anything on our town archive site, anything in our town transcripts is available to any resident in La Plata. So this is not specially privileged information that only I have as a council member. Anybody in the United States could actually access this information with just a couple clicks on their computer screen. And I'll be able to point you exactly where to get this stuff from, which is important because there's a third party, I think, that's kind of listening in as well, which are folks that are maybe thinking that this is going to be inflammatory in nature, or potentially like defamation causing, right? Defamatory. And that's not what this is, right? The truth is an absolute defense against any defamation case, and everything I'm going to provide and state tonight that I have stated and that I will continue to state as a council member from Ward 2 is the absolute truth. And I'll have the sources and the evidence of where I grabbed, those statements from to provide for you tonight. So excited to answer any questions that y'all have. I've gotten a lot of questions from residents on this. I've gotten questions from media on this, and I've been an open book. I promised that during the campaign, and I'll continue to do that here, day 93, as a council member, and it has been a wild 93 days. It's been a pleasure, for the record, but it has been educational to say the least.
Absolutely. So
awesome.
Just to continue to put the place down on the table, obviously everything was going on with Mayor James, with her being the town manager, also mayor at the same time. You had some issues with as far as the charter goes. There was a $10,000 a month bonus she was allegedly taking with along with this town manager job. So before we begin with that, I want to go from the beginning, and I want to build up to it. So, Patrick McCormick, just give us a little background on yourself. Explain a little bit of you're the first guest that we've had on from La Plata.
Great.
I'm not going to count BJ since he's D1 Charles County.
Sure.
That's
he was in a county commissioner capacity.
Yeah,
I get that.
You're the first one from the town of La Plata that's been on here. So, just break down for us what is the setup for government? How did you get involved? And just a little background on yourself too.
No, great question. So, background on myself. I'll kind of work backwards, right? So,
yes, sir.
Graduated from the University of Delaware back in 2015. Commissioned in the United States Army. Go Blue Hens. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the shout out.
Okay.
But yeah, commissioned in the Army, joined as an infantry officer, and served from 2015 to 2019. So just over 4 years. Second lieutenant, first lieutenant captain, was a paratrooper. So jumped out of planes. I heard that you flew, so I appreciate you flying those planes that we jumped out of.
I was in the back.
Yeah, but still, being on a C-130, C-17, it was good times, man. Good times. But we used to joke it's sometimes safer to jump out of military aircraft than necessarily land in it. So it was always nice to, it's always nice to jump out of it. So
the stories we can tell.
and again, obviously it's all joking in nature, but no. So served in the military, and then in 2019, I got a phone call from Amazon saying, "Hey, listen, we saw that you have military experience. They have a big military pathway program and all that. So they asked if I would, come work for them as an area manager. And I said, absolutely, very interested. Got an opportunity to come back to the DMV area. So I was up in Middletown, Delaware at a fulfillment center over there at Phil 7. Worked there for a couple of years. Jumped down to Texas with a company called Chewy, which I'm sure you've all heard of. But yep, worked with Chewy for a little bit as a senior operations manager. They poached me from Amazon and had a great paycheck and benefits package and all that stuff. And then Chewy started to, have a little bit of, issues. I don't know if you've ever seen the stock pricing in Chewy, but Chewy went from super high to kind of low. So, some of the staff, there was a little bit of turnover and all that. So Amazon actually called and said, would you be interested in coming back? I said, absolutely. Came back to Amazon, and that's how I landed here in Washington, D.C. At HQ2 and living in La Plata. And it's funny because when I was at the University of Delaware, my best friend's wife lived and grew up in La Plata. And she talked about how awesome it was every time we'd come down to visit. When I met my wife, she was my fiance at the time and all that. We're like, this is where we want to be. Okay. So really glad that we were able to make that all a reality. And when I could finally pick my home, my permanent home, we picked La Plata. And in La Plata, got married, had my first son, hopefully more on the way. We'll see if God blesses us.
Shout out to fatherhood.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, La Plata's home. La Plata is truly home. I love La Plata. So when we moved down there, I was there for, maybe a year plus or minus a little bit of time. And I saw in one of the, and excuse me, I'm actually getting over a cold, so I apologize. But
You're good.
I got one of the town newspapers or pamphlets, whatever they call them. And in it said there's an opening for an ethics commissioner or ethics committee member. Well, I served in the military. I've been on ethics boards at Amazon and Chewy. I'm more than happy to get back to my community. So I asked my wife. At the time, she was pregnant. She's like, I don't know if this is a great time to do it. I said, okay, fair enough. 4 months later, the next letter comes out. Same openings open. I send an email in, go through an interview process, get nominated, and I was put on the ethics commission. So involved in local politics as quickly as I could, right? Obviously with the pregnancy, couldn't do it at the first 4 months, but as soon as, we had our son, he was happy and healthy and all that, good to go.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, so did that. Information starts to flow to you when you're in those positions, right? So you start to hear from residents like, oh, you're on the ethics commission and, you're relatively new to town. Do you know about this? Do you know about that? So I started to do some deep diving, right? And one of the things that one of the council members, or I should say people running for council at the time, said, look at the satisfactory rates of the town. So in 2024, La Plata had put out a survey, for lack of a better term. What's your confidence in the local government? Are you happy with how development's been going? Do you think there's enough resources or what, all the normal questions. Are you happy with your police force? All that type of stuff. And if you looked at the performance of Town Hall, you would see that the approval ratings for these were pretty low, pretty dismal. And I brought up a lot on the campaign trail, right? Like a big thing that I used to say, and I can't remember the stats now, it's been a little bit, but I think it was like we had a 40% trust rating, right? Which is pretty low. I mean, 60% of folks don't trust Town Hall to act in their best interest or whatever the stat was. It was somewhere in the 20%. Do you feel you're treated with respect? Or are you happy with how growth and development is happening or new neighborhoods, new development? So, you see that, and then you're at Town Hall and you're hearing everything's great and hunky-dory. Well, the two don't connect.
Yeah.
So I started to really pay attention to town council meetings. So I found out who my town council member was and started to listen in, and I actually agreed with a lot of his points. So there's a guy named Matthew Trollinger who was the Ward 2 representative before me. So I reached out to Matt a couple of times. Incredibly busy man. I do not fault him for this, by the way. I understand now I'm in the position, right? But I didn't get an email back. And all I said was, hey, are you running again? I'd like to get involved to help. If you're not running, I would like to pick up the mantle because I think a lot of things that you have fought for, specifically in 2024, there was a debate over a pension program. I think these are important things we want to keep on the record, right? We want to keep moving forward. And Matt came out a little bit closer to election period and said, I'm not running again. Spoiler alert. 3 of the 4 council members said they were not running again, which we can get into. But, you know, when you have a 60%,
Absolutely.
you know, hey, I'm not coming back resignation rate,
Well,
people are probably not super happy with what's going on. So, you know, and again, I'm not trying to speculate for them or anything, just, you know, seeing where the evidence leads me. But, yeah, I had to get involved. I mean, absolutely had to get involved. The things that I was hearing just from being in my neighborhood, walking in Agricopia, because that's kind of where my route goes with my dog and my kid and stuff. You know, people are friendly and they come out. We see you're new. Oh, you're on the ethics commission. Are you tracking this? Are you tracking that? What they were saying was not line up with what town hall was pushing forward. So I decided to get involved in the race. We had the only primary in my district. So, of course, I had to win 2 elections to get this seat. So I like to joke around with some of my friends on the council, like Councilman Gutenberg and Sampson and Johnson. I tell them, you know, I won 100% more elections than you did. You know, I had to win 2.
there you go, Ryan.
But I did. I flat out won the primary, which, you know, it's a big deal.
That is huge.
You just have to come in the top 2. That's why I just kept telling myself, just come in the top 2, see if your message resonates. But no, I flat out won it. And I beat an individual who was a council member in the past. Oh, wow. And I beat another individual, Rich Gilpin, who is an incredibly qualified, smart individual. And again, we had an election. We went back and forth, but you know, Rich is a smart guy. He's got a great record. He's a good family man. But you know, the people of La Plata thought that the vision that I was pushing forward, which was, you know, very simple: LEOPS for the police force, an APFO, a code change, and an increase in transparency. I proved during the campaign I was going to do that by how many doors I door knocked. So I door knocked a ton of doors. I did it with Councilman Gutenberg for a lot of the doors. Councilman Johnson joined me for a lot of the doors. And we really went through town and just tried to listen and hear from as many people we could as possible. And I think that's why the 3 of us won with the margins we did. Now, Johnson didn't run against anybody, so very easy.
Oh, so
right?
for him, it was just kind of like,
still, it's important to if 700 people showed up, and it was a number around there, he still got like 580 votes. So that's a big deal, right? So they didn't have to click his name, but they did.
But a lot of people just left it blank.
But if you look at Sampson, myself, and Gutenberg's win percentage, they were pretty high, right? So you know, don't quote me again, but it's anywhere from like 8 to 10 points, you know, in favor of the winners. So for a local election, that's a pretty high margin. And I think a lot of that. Thank you. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so the sweat is not that I'm hot. I had a fever.
You're totally good. You're totally good.
So just in case anyone's out there like, this dude's sweating, is
right.
You know.
And they can't look. They can't even see in the camera. So you're totally good.
I am getting over a cold.
You're good. You're good to go. Just want to get you straight.
Listen, I'm glad that the cameras at Town Hall are far away because last night it was a mess. My son got hand, foot, and mouth like 3 weeks ago. He's over it, thank goodness. I was really sick last week. I'm getting over it now. I sound worse than I am. I promise.
No, you're good.
I'll wipe down the mics and all that after. I promise that.
Good to go. Good to go.
But yeah, so we won by pretty big margins, right? So I think there was a lot of trust in the 4 of us going into a new cycle, and you can see. You could see that through the election result, right? So a lot of trust from the folks from the town. Johnson had 580 something votes. I had 400 and something votes. Gutenberg and Sampson, I think, had 380 something votes, like pretty big margins. And then Mayor James obviously won re-election. I think she was somewhere in the 370, 380 mark as well. So everybody was won by a pretty decent margin. So a lot of trust going in. And again, we earned that trust through door knocking. So I heard the concerns directly from the residents. And their concerns are what built my platform, which again was LEOPS, which is a pension program for the police force. It's industry standard in all the research I've done. And I actually have something that I can share with the group here today, which is in one of our first meetings in May during our budget discussion, we actually passed in a 5-0 vote that we were going to start the discussion on what does it take to figure out the price point for LEOPS for La Plata. So this has been a debate that's been going on for a couple of years. No action has been taken one way or the other because it was still obviously an open debate. And we were able to, as a council, unified all 5 of us, move forward with that. Our town manager put out a report, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, as to where we're at with that. So really exciting stuff there. So we're able to deliver on Promise 1 pretty quickly. Obviously a long way to go, but got to take that first step, right?
Definitely.
The second thing was an APFO, an Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance. Basically a code change to give the town more levers when a developer comes in to build stuff. So I think every town has this resident, and it's the last resident to move in, and they go, I don't want any more houses after mine. And I think that's fair, right? Everybody wants that. Is it realistic is the other question, right? And politics is a practical science. But one of the things that I believe, and this is my personal opinion, I'm not speaking for the council, was that we didn't have a lot of defense mechanisms in place in La Plata. I felt like developers got a lot of say as to what was happening without necessarily having a, the residents really get a vote in what happens to La Plata. So I just want to make sure that there's a little bit more of a partnership between the 2 groups, if that makes sense, instead of just one group getting, what it perceives to be, what they want, which may not be the case for the record, but I could tell you, door knocking, that's what the residents think. It's just important to make sure we have that dialogue again. And then the third thing was increased transparency, which I'm sure we'll get into now.
Increased transparency. So let's talk on it. Before we begin, I want to do one more thing. Just make sure we understand exactly what's going on. La Plata, charter, correct?
Yes, we do have a town charter. Correct.
Okay. Anything specific in your charter you want to point out before we begin?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it, but the big thing in the charter, let me get let me get the actual quote here for you. Give me a second. Bad radio, right?
No, you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Bad radio, walking away from the how's everything going here? All right, so let me, again, sorry, I apologize.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good.
I did promise at the front, right? I'm going to have all the sources for you. I want to make sure I get it. Okay. So the town charter states, no elected official of the town shall be appointed town manager during the term for which he or she shall have been elected, nor within 1 year after the expiration of the term. I don't think there's a lot of explanation needed for that, but to put it into layman terms, if you are currently an elected official or held office 1 year prior, you can't be the town manager in La Plata. I feel like that's a fair interpretation, right?
Okay.
I should say that's my interpretation.
Okay. All right. Now that we set that, I'll call you Patrick.
Yeah, sure. No, please, yeah.
What the hell is going on in La Plata?
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? Let's talk on it.
Yeah, and again, like I said at the front, these are my opinions. I'm not speaking for the council. Everything is sourced, and this is not defamatory or even inflammatory in nature. This is strictly me just trying to get to the bottom of what looks like and what could potentially be actions that, need to be questioned and we need answers to. So starting from the top, we're going to go all the way back, get in your time machine.
Oh, good. Okay.
To 2021. I know.
Okay.
Way before I was in office, way before anybody except for Mayor James was in office. Mayor James is the mayor at the time. This is a former council. And what happens in April of 2021, April 26th to be exact, is that there's an introduction to Resolution 2106. Resolution 2106 caps the mayor's salary at $21,000 and essentially the total compensation, so like benefits and all that stuff, at $42,000, double whatever the salary is. But what's also important there is it states in that resolution and it states in our charter you can't change the compensation for an elected official during that term. So let's say, for example, Gutenberg, myself, Johnson, and Sampson all go, we want $100,000 to be your council members. We could do that. But it would be for the next council, and we would have to win election again. Yeah. And I promise you, if we did that, we wouldn't win election, right? So that's why that protective measure is in there. So important to note, Mayor James introduced this resolution. Okay, so I would argue if you introduce the resolution, you have pretty good knowledge on it. That's, again, my opinion. For the folks out there listening, looking for stuff, it's my opinion that the individual that wrote the document should know what's in the document. I think that's relatively straightforward.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's what the document says. This is in 2021.
Okay.
Okay. This is important. Remember this. I promise we're going to come back to it.
Okay.
Promise you. Okay. Now we go 3 years in the future. So we're June 28th, 2024. Around that date, town manager Brent Manuel resigns. There's an article that comes out.
Why did he resign?
I don't know why he resigned. That's a great question. And
wow.
again, I feel like I have enough of a record to tell you if I did or didn't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I have no idea why Mr. Emanuel resigned. I don't know if it was for another job opportunity or anything like that. I don't want to speculate on it. I don't know.
And the town didn't put anything out to say, hey, this is why he resigned, or this is what's
Not
happening.
to my knowledge.
Okay.
The only thing that I've seen on it is an article from the Southern Maryland Chronicle from David M. Higgins. It was put out in July of 2024, and it states that Brent Manuel has resigned and that the town council has named Mayor James, quote, town CEO. Okay, great. Go to the town charter. Town charter states that if the town doesn't have a town manager, the mayor assumes town CEO. Okay? So basically, the mayor can be the town CEO, and then if you want to rehire a town manager, then the mayor would go back to being a voting member of the block or whatever, and cutting ribbons and all that stuff, and the town manager would do the day-to-day operation.
Okay.
But while there's no town manager, the town mayor assumes the role of town CEO.
Okay.
Takes on those responsibilities and duties. And then there was a big debate I'm sure you guys saw back in May. I think it was May 20th or May 27th. I can't remember what date it was. But you hear myself and town attorney Jay Gullo go back and forth. Duties, responsibilities, tasks. Like, they're all the same, man. What are we talking about? But anyway, so now we get to September 3rd, 2024. And this is the rub. So September 3rd, 2024, the town council holds a closed session. Mm-hmm. Closed session is different than an open session, obviously, by nature, right? They have a different name. What's the difference between the two? An open session, public hearing, a working set, whatever you want to call it, filmed on the record. Folks can come in, observe, in some instances make public comments, basically what you think of town hall.
Yeah.
Closed session is when typically you're talking about some matter that's inappropriate for the public to hear. Personnel, legal advice, things along those nature. So September 3rd, they go into a closed session. So there's no recording. The only thing you're going to get from this is a disclosure statement, maybe a minutes packet, but you're not going to be able to go through and find a transcript like you would for a public meeting. Okay. In that, there's a couple of things that are written, and the presiding officer is responsible for writing these things and preparing the document. The presiding officer is always the mayor. And if the mayor is not there to be the presiding officer, it falls to a role called mayor pro tem. Mayor was there. Okay. She wrote it. Her signature is actually on the document. Persons who attended the closed session, mayor, all the council members, assistant town manager, Michelle Miner, and in the actions taken, quote, the town council voted on a stipend for the acting town manager, end quote.
Ruh-roh.
Okay. Interesting. So go back to June 28th, 2024. Town CEO. Okay, makes sense. Wow. Good. September 3rd, 2024. Town manager. There's a reason why the charter is written the way, in my opinion, that it's written. Town CEO and town manager are two distinct parts. If they were meant to be the same, they would have been put in the same area. My opinion, my interpretation. So, in 2025, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Gutenberg, myself, Sampson, all the candidates that, ran and unfortunately did not win. But, everybody gets to talk and know each other. You know this from running an election. Even just because you're running against people doesn't mean you can't talk to them and,
No, of course.
Have a beer or whatever and, get to know each other. We're all human at the end of the day. And maybe yours was a little bit more contentious. I don't know. But I honestly don't know your
They're humans. They're humans.
story.
Yeah, but for the most part.
Yeah,
No,
everybody's,
I'm joking.
yeah, we're all human. But one of the things that kind of came up was, as we started to dive into more of these policies and stuff, something that was really interesting was a lot of us started attending town council meetings. We had been listening to them or watching them in our free time, but it was important, like, if I'm going to run for this office, I got to show up in person to see if I can do it.
Yeah.
What's the, what's the strain it puts on the wife at home? Is this doable, right? I got to be fair to everybody. And as I started to attend these meetings, I kept hearing phrases like, I'm wearing two hats. I'm in both roles, whatever. And I'll get to exact quotes in a second here. Mm-hmm. But that kind of like struck a chord. And there was a person that was running for election, then candidate, now Councilman Johnson, puts in a FOIA request in March or April. I can't remember the exact date. But in March or April, he puts in a FOIA request, and basically he's asking for, hey, who was that acting town manager and what was the stipend? I'll be honest with you. Not that I haven't been, but I think most of us were operating on the assumption that the assistant town manager, Michelle Miner, who was at that meeting,
Yeah.
probably got bumped up. That's great. That's awesome because it never says who it was.
Oh, okay.
And the disclosure never says who
Wow.
it was. Right. So
okay, all right.
I think any normal
Smoking
person
gun.
I
Would
think
assume that, yeah.
would be like, oh well, the assistant town manager, now the town manager.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Anyway, it comes out, and this is the response from the town. The town says, quote, although the closing statements for the closed session on September 3rd, 2024 reflects that a stipend for an acting town manager was approved, further review of the town charter established that Mayor James is not the acting town manager, but in accordance with the town charter, the chief executive officer. Okay. As such, Mayor James fulfills the duties of mayor for which he receives a salary of $21,000 per year and the duties of town manager for which he receives a separate stipend of $10,000 per month. Did you pick up on what just was said there?
Wow.
So you have, hey, listen, we get the document says that she's the acting town manager. She's actually the CEO. One sentence later, she gets a salary for the duties of town manager. Your own statement is contradicting itself. And unfortunately, I think this is a pattern that you start to see, right? So it's important to go through this and kind of see what's happening here. So timeline again, May 20th, 2025, we come in, we stop the stipend, we make Michelle Miner the acting town manager during that time period. And we have a pretty good debate. But, and it's interesting because I actually don't have the quotes on this document because they weren't provided at the time. But let's get into this one real quick. So I told you, right, remember that April 26, 2021 resolution.
Yep.
Right. And remember that quote right there. That's the statement from the town on the FOIA request. She wasn't the town manager. She's actually the town CEO, even though the document says town manager. But she's also getting a stipend for being the town manager. Okay. I mean, I don't, again, I'm not super smart. I would argue I'm relatively intelligent. I'm confused as heck.
Yeah.
And again, all I'm doing is asking the question, and I would love an answer to it. Haven't been provided one. So this is where it gets really interesting. So I said at one of the latest meetings, I said, listen, I said, Mayor James, if this is all above board, like you said, we should have a very simple conversation. But there's a lot of quotes from you yourself that, in my opinion, my interpretation, show that you actually believed you were the town manager. And again, I can't get in your head. Let's go through the quotes. October 8th, 2024, town council meeting. Mayor James, quote, maybe because I'm the town manager now, I didn't feel I might have the support. Okay. Same meeting, same day. Mayor James, quote, I'm just going to speak as mayor and not a town manager. I mean, again,
Wow.
and if you're listening at home, just go on to the transcript on the town council meeting for October 8th, 2024, and you'll find this. I mean, it's Control F. You'll find it. And my contention is, again, this at least creates the illusion that Mayor James believes that she was a town manager. And what's really important is, and I ran this all through, quick control finds and all that, because I put all the transcripts in. Before September 3rd, there's actually no mention that I have found of Mayor James referring to herself or anybody referring to herself as town manager. But it's after that meeting that all these quotes start to come out.
Wow.
Again, a question I think needs to be answered. Okay, now let's go to December 10th, because there's not a lot of meetings, to be honest with you, between this time period. December 10th, town staffer. I won't mention who they are. I don't think it's responsible to do that, but you can go through the transcript and find it pretty easily. Quote, I don't make decisions on what's allowed in the budget and what's not. I propose a budget to balance the budget based on what the town manager is recommending. In this situation, we have Madam Mayor acting in that role, so we've got a precarious situation. Okay, so now we have a town staffer who, based off this quotes and this evidence, believes, in my opinion, my interpretation again, that the mayor is the town manager, or at least acting as it. Same meeting, December 10th, council member on the record, quote, our mayor has stepped up to take an extra responsibility, and let me get the quote correct. Quote, our mayor has stepped up to take on extra responsibilities and the role as town manager function. At the same time, I would just continuously ask that we err on the side of more information for council than less, because it's a difficult line that you're walking, right? You're in both roles. Okay, so now we have a council member, we have a staffer, and we have quotes from Mayor James herself after that September 3rd closed session meeting that I'm operating in the capacity of town manager, right? And again, I think it leads to the question, were you operating in the role of town manager? And if that is the case, does it violate the charter? I'm not a judicial body. Councilman Gutenberg actually made a really good argument on July 29th. And it's important to recognize in a heated exchange, which I think people interpret it as it. I don't know if he does or doesn't. I hope he doesn't because I don't, right? I still think that everybody on the council can still remain friendly and work together. We're going to have differences of opinion. I wish it didn't go the way it did. I got no problem. My phone works both ways. Obviously willing to take any calls there. But he actually brought up a good point. He goes, we're not judges. And I agree, we're not judges. But, the thing that I'm trying to bring up here is it's actually in our power and purview to police our own. It's actually a power that's given to legislative bodies in incorporated towns like La Plata, right? Censure, sanction, those are all inherited powers that we have to look at this matter and have a discussion on the public record is something we can actually do. I get the argument, and I think he did a better job in closed session of explaining this, and we kind of got to hash it out, as did some other folks. The way in which it was being brought up was inappropriate. I actually agree. I think that's fair. It's politics. It's important to bring these things up. I should have probably given a little bit more lead time, maybe provided the documents to the council themselves. On the same token, none of this is new. It's been publicly published by me. I've been talking about this since I found out about it, and I think it's appropriate to have this. Again, there's no piece of information here that's like I went through, Leviticus and found some crazy, passage, and I'm going to get you on the street with some, Bible knowledge. These are very simple quotes that just a quick Control F on the transcript on October 8th will see you say, Mayor James says, maybe because I'm town manager.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair thing to ask. And then we get to the question of the meeting itself. So let's go to September 3rd again. So September 3rd is the meeting in which Mayor James allegedly gets this stipend, okay? $10,000 a month, back paid to the date that Brent left, on top of the $21,000 salary, whatever.
Oh, so it was back pay as well?
Yes, there was back pay in it as well. My understanding from the record, right?
And there's pay stubs that
there is a pay stub, yes.
they give her town manager and okay.
Yep, and it's set again. It's very wonky because it's going to the same person and it's divided. But Councilman Gutenberg actually made this argument on May 20th. Like, if you can tell me the difference between stipend and salary, I'll eat my hat.
Yeah,
they go into the same bank account. Like, what are we talking about? But anyway, so let's go back to that September 3rd meeting. So this is something interesting. So on May 20th, the town attorney and I got into what I would call an educational conversation for the people of La Plata. What I was trying to ascertain, because honestly at the time on May 20th, I didn't know. The OMA ruling only comes out in June, by the way. I know we're jumping back and forth with the timelines, but on May 20th, OMA had not made a ruling yet as to what happened at the September 3rd meeting, if it was correct, incorrect, whatever. They made no ruling at the time because it comes out in June. So on May 20th, we're all talking, and Mr. Gullo says, quote, listen, there's a flaw in the charter, and what we're trying to say here, what the spirit here is what happened in these closed meetings is that somehow it was done quickly or was done without deliberation. The previous council spent a tremendous amount of time deliberating on this, and they held many closed sessions. And I cut him off and I said, let me correct you real quick. There's a statement, there's now statement in the spirit of this discussion there's nothing in the statement in the spirit of discussion that we don't think that deliberately happened. Okay? What we're talking about is the result of that deliberation. Just to be clear, you can deliberate for a hot minute and come to a wrong conclusion. Mr. Gullo responds with, I think that's where we are. I sense that everyone is unhappy with the decision that was made, but the decision-making process on that was sound. They meant to discuss this after the resignation, and I cut him off and I said, I just can't see how you can make that statement that when the decision clearly states, not town CEO, but rather town manager, for the reasoning of the stipend. And he states, it may state that in the minutes, but that is not the effect of the law. Those minutes don't carry weight. They don't carry enough weight to go into court to say you're going to overturn this just because the minutes say that. Okay, so what just happened? There are a lot of quotes. Again, we're talking in real time. Transcript is going to pick up all the ums and ahs, right?
Of course.
Basically, Mr. Golo is ascertaining that sounds like everybody's pretty upset with this decision, but the decision-making process was sound. Okay. All right. Cool. Right?
Yeah.
Right? All right. Sounds good. What? What's that? Maryland Open Meetings Act, decision-making process, maybe not as sound as Mr. Mr. Golo led on and the rest of the council led on. So basically, the way in which the decision was deliberated and pushed out to the town failed the open meetings compliance standards. So everything, again, is published, all that. But let's go through the direct quote, right? So I got the quote here somewhere. Just give me 1 second. Because again, I promised sources.
No,
I
you're
want to
right.
make sure I
No, this
always-
is
always
great.
Get them right.
Oh, please. Keep going. Tell your whole story.
Yeah.
In the comment section, we'll get to it. We'll let Patrick
and
tell us.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I
Oh, yeah, no,
apologize. I know
definitely.
this is
No, you're
bad
no.
air, bad air.
No, you're good. You have this is
Oh, here it is.
the
I'm
quotes
sorry.
are great.
I had
I'm
it
loving
on-
the quotes.
I had it
Yeah.
on the right document. Thank you for that. So June 5th. Okay, so now we know the date because I couldn't remember. June 5th, 2025, Open Meetings Compliance Board quote. We conclude that the town council violated 3-305D2 II before meeting in closed session by failing to include in the written closing statement adequate descriptions of the topic to be discussed in closed session and the reason for the closing the meeting to have the discussion. We also conclude that the council violated 3-306C2 by failing after the closed session to include all details required of a closed session summary. Now, if you're looking at this as an individual who believes that the presiding officer could do no wrong, you can read that and go, the only issue here is the way in which the meeting was deliberated to the town. Basically, the closing of the meeting was done incorrectly. But Mr. Golo still has an argument here that the decision-making process was sound. I would argue that if the way in which you pushed out the information violated the Open Meetings Act, there's at least a question there. To state definitively that this decision-making process is sound, there's no question to be had here. All right, there's at least a question. Again, I am not trying to inflame anything here. I'm not trying to bring up old wounds. But go back to the reason I ran, the 2024 survey. Trust in the town, below 50%. Satisfactory ratings with how development is going, in the 20s. Right, direction of the town, in the 20s. Ooh. If you're telling me that there's these questions when it comes to what I would argue is an ethical matter of this importance, taxpayer money, right? Stipend versus salary, charter statements that are clear that no elected official can hold this role, presiding officer stating, I'm holding that role. I think these are questions that deserve to be talked about on the public record. And people are interested in this. I can't tell you how many folks stop me when I go to the supermarket. I go to Lowe's a lot. Lowe's is an area I get stopped a lot. Mm-hmm. Phone calls, emails. Best thing about emails, especially on government website, if you want to FOIA request them, you can go find them. But listen, people are asking about this, and they're the ones that are talking to me are not happy. And I get it. The council's making an argument that we stopped the stipend on May 20th, and that when the OMA ruling came out on June 5th, the town took actions to ensure it wouldn't happen again. Basically, we took away the stipend on May 20th. The OMA stated that the way in which the September 3rd meeting was either held or, the way in which the information was disseminated, however you want to interpret that, we've done enough. We've done it. The issue is put to bed. But I actually disagree because these are, in the OMA's case, an outside organization coming in and policing us. We have to police ourselves. This is equivalent, in my opinion, to a president that does something in year 2 that potentially violates the Constitution, that Congress finds out in year 6, the second term. And the argument that I'm hearing is, well, because it happened in the first term, you're not allowed to relitigate it or discuss it. And I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? I think those arguments are insane. And I think the best way to build trust, believe it or not, in a situation like this, if it comes back founded, to be fair, to be clear, there's been no ruling on if the mayor illegally took the stipend, violated the charter. I want to make that clear. There's been no outside agency, judicial body that has made that decision. I'm also not alleging that. I'm asking the question if it happened. But for us not to even get that discussion on an agenda or on the record for the public, I think is actually a disservice. And it proves why those trust ratings were so low in 2024 and why the direction of the town and the trust in the town was so low in 2024. I mean, I knocked on all those doors. I met all those people. I listened to their concerns. Being a change agent, it's tough. It's not easy. But we got to do it. We have to do it. You have to hold folks accountable. In my opinion, the way that I kind of view this, to give an analogy, is we had a CEO of a company who was also a voting member, right? Just to set it up that way to make it kind of close to a one-to-one comparison. And analogies always fail, so I understand this will not be perfect, but I think it's a way to kind of paint the picture. The way I see it based off of the evidence presented here and the question I think that needs to be answered is, you have a CEO that answers to a board, okay? For whatever reason, the CEO resigns, a board member steps in. So still a voting member, but steps into the CEO duties. And during that time period, does something that could have potentially violated that business's code of ethics. I think the board needs to discuss if that occurred or not, even if it's a new board.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a relatively decent analogy to kind of what happened here, based off of the quotes and evidence that I provided, right? Everything, again, can be found in the public transcript, FOIA requests, the town archives. We have on April 21st of 2021, the mayor and a former council stating that the mayor's salary is going to be capped at $21,000 and that you cannot change the salary during that term. We have, on September 3rd, the mayor receiving a stipend during that term. All right, so I think there's a question there, and I legitimately want to know, Councilman Gutenberg already asked it, what's the difference between stipend and salary? Does this potentially violate that? I'm not ascertaining it does. I'm saying we definitely need an answer to that question.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's fair. Okay. Leading on from there, we have the town charter with black and white language. No elected official can serve as a town manager or up to 1 year, whatever the quote I used earlier. Okay. But then we have the document that we accessed through a FOIA request for the September 3rd closed session meeting, a stipend approved for the acting town manager, and then when pushed further, found out that individual was Mayor James, not Michelle Miner, who, frankly, I think most
you
of
only
us
found
assumed.
out through the request.
So we found out through the request. The OMA ruling, I think, is what highlights that. That information was not made available to the public until, and I give Councilman Johnson a lot of credit, finding that he actually posted on Facebook during the election, did not go over very well. Again, he's running unopposed, I get it, so kind of backed off it, and then once we got into office, obviously made the moves that we did to remove the stipend and all that. So I think it was a smart, play for the public and all that, and I give Councilman Johnson a lot of credit. That's a hard thing to do, and it's a brave thing to come out with that. And to be fair, Councilman Gutenberg, I believe, helped with that too, so I want to give him credit as well. I know the two of them, obviously worked very closely together during the election. But, this is important stuff. So you have all these things that kind of line up to, we just need an answer to what happened here. Just a once and for all. I'm glad we took away the stipend. Obviously, it was a 5-0 decision. It was a unanimous council to include the mayor, by the way. So I appreciate, her recognizing, at least for, whatever it was, 14 more days till Chuck showed up or whatever, that she wasn't going to take the stipend. But Listen, it's something. It's good. Like, really appreciate it. It is good. Okay. It's good that we saved a couple $100 or whatever. Whatever. But it's just, it's. And I don't think we'll ever be able to get the money back. I know a lot of people have asked me, like, can you get the money back? Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I've reached out to some very smart legal folks. No, Mayor James make this argument a lot. The job was done. I did the job. Yeah, I agree. Job was done. I don't think we're going to be able to get the money back. But again, we were talking a little off air, like, what's a censure? What's a sanction? Yeah. It's essentially a slap on the wrist. And I don't think that's, a crazy thing for us to discuss and at least get on the record. And if folks think I'm out of pocket or not bringing up correct information, or Mayor James actually has the corrected record, great. Then we discuss it. We vote it down and we move on. Yeah. But if we don't talk about it, right, this is where those quotes on the transparency issue came up on July 29th that we have to talk about. Mm-hmm. So Mayor James made a really long statement on July 29th, right? And part of that statement was basically...
This is the town hall, and she started off meeting with that.
So we introduced the topic, and she goes, "I want to read a prepared statement," which she's allowed to. Mm-hmm. Okay, just for the record, not alleging any rules were broken or anything like that. Mm-hmm. She's allowed, and she reads off this really nice statement. It's very well written, very well said. Everything.
I watched it. I saw it.
Yeah, really, really well done. But there's a couple things that I think still need to be answered in that statement. So she's very clear. I was town CEO. Okay, but I don't think you were as clear as you think you are, based off of what you were saying before you knew that there were eyeballs and folks actually interested in caring where their tax dollars were going, what was happening, who was serving in what role and what function. Let me go on a tangent real quick. Why is this important? Why am I in here spending my Wednesday with you guys and not my kid and wife right now, right? This is important because if you have a voting member also acting as the executor for the town, because a town manager, view them like the president. They're the executor. They act out the will of the council. The council, think of the legislative body / judicial body, because it's a little bit of a weird mix between the two. But think of the council as the legislative body, directing, right, the vision for the town, and then going to the town manager and saying, we want you to find out how much LEOPS costs. And then the town manager does it, great, we keep the town manager employed. But let's say the town manager doesn't do it. I'm not saying Chuck is doing this or not. I'm using an example here. But let's say a town manager doesn't do it. Our recourse is to fire the individual. Well, if the mayor is the town manager, I can't fire an elected official. Yeah. Do you see the potential issue that's here if this is the case?
And I do want to ask this a quick clarifying question.
Go ahead. I got one after that too.
Yep. So for... I guess, what are the differences for the mayor than the council? Is the mayor seen as almost like a council member, just like they just set the agenda, and is that really kind of the only difference?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's going to come down to interpretation and if the town has a manager at that time or not.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so with a manager, basically, what you said is 99% true.
Okay.
Excuse me, a couple differences. Yeah. But basically, she gets one vote, just like we all have a vote. She probably gets to cut a couple more ribbons than we do, or whatever. But whatever a mayor does,
yeah. But a few more breakfasts.
Yeah, whatever. But
scissors.
But no, like that's what it is. She's a voting member, just like us. She does set the agenda. She has a couple extra duties and responsibilities like that. Like she can appoint the town attorney. There's a couple things that she gets that we don't get. But yeah, that's basically it. Now, if there's no town manager, the mayor will assume the responsibilities of town CEO. This is where it gets interesting. My personal interpretation, and I think most people reading it would probably come to the same conclusion, is the town charter is written in a way that you are trying to incentivize the town, especially as we grow, to get a town manager. What person in their right mind would work that job for $21,000? I actually agree with the mayor on that argument. Yeah. The problem is the charter is written the way it is. Resolution 2106 that you introduced is written the way that it is.
You set the system up.
We can want to change it all we want, but that is the rule. And you can't just change it willy-nilly because, oh, crap, now I'm actually doing it. Yeah. Right? And I think that's why public trust has been such a big issue in La Plata, is things like this, is is, the difference in perception between what the normal person that I'm walking my dog and I see versus the normal person down at town hall. So I trust me, I get the empathetic argument. I do. I'm a fair guy. I've had my mind changed multiple times in this role. I'm not a guy that comes in with a set agenda, puts my fist down, say, this is it. This is my way or the highway. I've had my mind changed on plenty of issues already, closed session and public session. But this is one that I think needs to be answered is, I get it. I'm empathetic to the pain. Yeah, it's crazy that somebody would work this job for $21K. That's why maybe we should always have a town manager, or we should have something written that if you are the town manager, you're entitled to a set pay or what. But the thing is, the way the rules are written right now, I feel like there's at least a question here as to what happened.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense.
Okay.
And,
Yeah. And I know that was super long-winded for what does a mayor do?
No, thank you.
Yeah,
No, could you actually
that's
explain
a long-winded
further
thing.
question about the separation between the CEO and all
Yeah.
that? So thank you. Yeah.
No, of course.
So explain it to this is my interpretation, obviously, casual, average voter.
Sure.
I see, let's say, obviously, this is White Plains, this is La Plata, but I'm a citizen of La Plata. My mayor has taken a second job she shouldn't have, that's going against the charter, and got paid $10,000 a month without anybody really knowing about it. I'm gonna ask you this: you're on the council. Do you think Mayor James should resign?
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a loaded question. So let me put some nuance and chimichurri sauce on the steak here, right? So, as a public individual, this is not defamatory in nature. It's not inflammatory, and I've made this already publicly known. Okay, I'm allowed to speak as an individual council member with my own individual thoughts. Yeah, I think Mayor James should resign based off of the evidence that's been presented and the fact that she tabled the conversation on July 29th. That's what I personally think. I have brought this up to the council before. It is not the will of the council. I don't even think it's power that we have. Okay. I'm never going to bring it up at a council session. It's inappropriate.
Okay.
But you better believe I one-on-one reached out to Mayor James and said, I think you should resign. And I did that because, again, being a change agent and fighting for transparency is incredibly difficult. But this is the right thing to do. Based off of the evidence and the quotes, the requests, the FOIAs, everything here leads me to believe that there are questions that need to be answered. And when the individual does not answer the questions in a way that the charter and home rule in the Maryland State Constitution has already given us the ability and process to do, I don't think it's inappropriate to say, okay, then I think you need to step down for the betterment of the town. It's obviously up to her.
Yeah.
There's not an IG or anything like that in your charter that can
So there's a couple,
investigate, take a look at this.
couple things we can do. But again, it requires the will of the council. So you're asking for my individual opinion, then I'll tell you where the council kind of is right now.
Okay.
So my individual opinion, yes, I think that we should go to the Office of State Prosecutor as a body. You can go as an individual. I'm not saying one way or the other, but I would assume, and this is my uneducated opinion, that if just like I wrote a letter to the OSP to be like, all right, who's this guy, moaning and whining.
Yeah.
But if a body came together and said, hey, we think something needs to be investigated here, that might carry more weight. The problem with OSP is it's criminal in nature. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure if this is criminal. And I'm not asking for a criminal investigation, if you remember at the beginning. Yeah. I'm just asking for a conversation on potentially sanctioning or censuring the mayor, because based off of everything presented to me and not having an answer to these questions, it seems like at least there may have potentially been a violation here. So we need to do something as the body to police it. So that's kind of where I'm getting with it. So you can go to the OSP. The other thing you can do is you can reach out to our internal ethics commission. And I actually had a council member ask me, instead of going through all these hoops and fighting this battle, why don't you just go to the ethics commission? I think that when you have a potential issue with a council member or a mayor, that issue should be handled by the council and the mayor themselves. What I mean by that is, we are given this power inherently. Councilman Gutenberg says we're not judges. But believe it or not, when it comes to matters of policing our own, we're given judicial powers. Look at any precedent set. I believe from 2006, there are 3 specific examples of municipalities around Maryland that a censure or sanction has occurred.
Oh, wow.
Even though the term censure and sanction was not in their charter, because it's an inherited power of a legislative body. So this is something we can do. So we can censure, sanction. I actually think that's the most appropriate action. That's what I've been fighting for. But that has not been the will of the council, as you saw on July 29th.
Yeah, the closed session.
So July 29th was open. You guys all saw it. That's the conversation
But
that was
3-2
tabled.
to the vote 3-2 to
table it.
To table it. That's something.
That was an open session.
Yep.
just for the record. Yep. So that was table 3-2, which means it's not the will of the council. It's not my job to go to town hall and keep fighting for this stuff.
Yeah.
That would be inappropriate. I agree with Councilman Gutenberg. That would be a waste of time. What's not a waste of time
Would
is
it?
going on a podcast. It's not, because I brought the issue up. I brought the debate up. They decided to table it. What's my next course of action? Political pressure, PR. Come on this podcast, put out a Facebook post.
There we go.
That's what we do. I still have that power. You can't just shut down my First Amendment right because you don't like what I'm saying. You can shut it down if what I'm saying is factually incorrect, causing irreparable harm because I have malice at heart. I don't have malice at heart. I don't care one way. I don't know Mayor James that well.
Yeah.
I've worked with her from, I don't know what, December of 2024 as an ethics committee member for a couple months till, when I won the election. Even then, like, I think you guys asked me offline, like, are you guys really close friends? Like, no, we're not. So I don't know Mayor James that well. So two, I would argue ascertain, is there malice here? No. What I'm arguing for is transparency and trying to figure out if there was a potential violation of the charter. I would argue this at least leads me to those questions. I think they need to be answered. I keep saying that. And I'm providing direct sources and evidence. So feel free to respond to them. I've asked a couple of media outlets, like I'd be more than happy to sit down with Mayor James one-on-one, discuss this outside of town hall if that's more comfortable. I'd be happy to discuss it, obviously, in town hall. That got voted down 3-2. So I think it would be inappropriate to keep bringing the issue up at town hall. So I won't keep bringing this issue up at town hall. But what I will do is when somebody like you asks, hey, what's going on with this issue? I got no problem coming here with the facts, the receipts, saying this is what's happening. And then maybe some folks out there in La Plata can send emails to legislative@townoflaplata.org, to Paul Gutenberg, to Tyjon Johnson, to Greg Sampson, to Janine James, to Chuck Stevens or myself, and say you want this on an agenda or you want to make a public comment because it is that important to you and you're concerned with trust and you're concerned with where the taxpayer money has gone and you're concerned with potential violations in the charter or this conversation being tabled, whatever. That's kind of the avenue I think is more appropriate here. So that's why I probably won't bring it up again. I saw you get like a little like, oh man, why wouldn't you do that? Because then what happened July 29th is going to happen every meeting, right? Where people get a little contentious. It's a tough issue. It's not fun to be talked about, potentially having a violation or, even what Councilman Gutenberg said to me, which is like, you're doing this for personal gain. That's not fun to get lobbed back at you. And, listen, I said something. I said, I think Councilman Gutenberg seconding this motion is disgusting. I did not call him disgusting. I wish I didn't use that language. It's not fun. It's a contentious topic. And, to the point of the residents, like we want to talk about the USDA loan. We want to talk about, what's happening with water. Where are we at with the APFO? Is there, a secondary entranceway going in a steeplechase? Whatever the issues are. And I personally, I want to talk about those things too.
Yeah.
But I think in order to do that, you have to have a solid foundation. And I would argue my interpretation, my personal beliefs, where I came from in the military, as a Roman Catholic, as a man of faith, a father, a husband, all that. If we have an individual that at least a question is being asked here based off of their quotes and their actions, did something of an ethical concern happen to the town? I'm not sure that we can productively have those conversations until that question is answered. Does that make sense?
I don't know if, and this is me, if I'm like just looking at it.
Yeah.
I couldn't trust the mayor especially if you get away with it too.
Yeah. So
then how can we trust you again not to do something shady? It couldn't be so much that, but just you did that behind the back. No one knew about it. Taxpayer dollars. How do we continue to trust you with that? And I think your and yourself and another individual on the council are in the best position to provide that pressure. Obviously, we can do what we can here, and obviously you got a platform, to speak yours. Obviously, you had a lot of receipts, but I think you're in the best position yourself to continue to apply that pressure.
No,
And if it gets even if it gets uncomfortable. I watched the town hall, and I like the fact you kept going back to it, kept demanding questions, kept demanding answers until obviously the vote came up, decided to table it. But I think you being there and obviously transparency, that you're probably you yourself and another individual on the that also decide to move forward with the vote. You're probably the best position to do that. I don't know how much a sanction would do. Like you said, slap on the wrist, but
yeah, but I think it's appropriate, right? Because it's the power that we have. Can't make her pay the money back. Can't make anybody quit or resign or anything like that. So that would be inappropriate. But we do have a power, which is we can say we didn't like this action or whatever, and we want to stop it. And now Councilman Gutenberg, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Sampson, all three of them actually brought this point up before, which is, well, with us in office, we know this will never happen again. I mean, Councilman Gutenberg made a very strong, passionate argument from the dais where he's like, we've made it clear there won't be a stipend given to any elected official under our watch. And I actually agree. If you look at the four of us, it's never going to happen again. But Councilman Gutenberg also talks about a lot correctly. We want processes in place that don't just rely on the personalities. So in 4 years, let's say we do the same thing the previous council did. None of us run for re-election.
Yeah,
and Mayor James is still there.
I'm not saying Mayor James,
no,
right?
But I'm saying anybody else. The same thing.
It could be.
You lead yourself to that. You want to put the process in place. So yesterday, we had a very interesting discussion on the public record. So we talked about, and I introduced this, I said, I want to make sure that we have a process for reprimand. Basically, if something like this were to happen again, and the example I used was, let's say in 8 months, somebody goes rogue. How do we reel them back in? And a concern that a lot of folks had was, they were worried that because the term sanction, the term censure was not in our charter, our code, our rules, that it could put us in a weird position, right? Okay, I disagree, obviously. There's plenty of precedent that legislative bodies have the power to police their own, but regardless, told you I'm a man that could change his mind and compromise. So I said, I'll compromise. Let's put the process in place. And even with that compromise, Councilman Gutenberg and Mayor James voted against it. Thankfully, Councilman Johnson voted in favor of it. No surprise, Councilman Sampson did. So it did pass 3-2. So our town staff is going to come up with language to figure out censure and sanction in the future. And then we'll have to vote on it if we want it in the rules of procedure. So that'll be another fight in another debate. But yeah, I think the pattern is interesting here with there's obviously the mayor who has tabled this conversation through her motion, seconded by Councilman Gutenberg, and then there were the only two not to give a consensus to at least introduce language for some sort of policing in the future. And the phrase that the mayor used last night was she's afraid that this will be weaponized. And my counter to that would be, this won't be weaponized. This is used for people that act outside of the bounds of the normal rules of procedure, charter, code, duties and responsibilities of the office. And the question has to be asked, like, if all this is above board, what's the concern?
Yeah.
Like, what is the concern? Why won't you talk about this? And it's frustrating because, May 20th, we had the vote and we got rid of the stipend. So we saved a couple $100. But then in June, the OMA violation came out. Okay, so now we have to re-talk about this. Well, we made these actions to the OMA. Okay, but we haven't taken an action as a body to say whether or not the individual that presided over this meeting, that's been the subject of this, if we're okay with what we perceive to be happening or not.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not alleging that anything criminal has happened here. Nobody has made a ruling on this. I'm simply asking, what happened? I provided quotes from Mayor James, former council members, town staff, the FOIA request, the September 3rd disclosure meeting, the OMA itself, Resolution 2106, all these the town charter, all these things line up that there is at least a question that potentially a violation occurred here, and I think it's the duty of the town council, who has that judicial power, to go through this and find out. Now, there are some council members that think a third party should do it. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. And I think that's something that might be talked about in the future, might not, I don't know.
Independent, somebody.
Yep, somebody independent to come in, right? The town council's, I'll say it this way. The town council has set a precedent of liking to do investigations on council members with this council already. I'll leave it at that. So I think that we should absolutely apply the same standard to everybody on the council. And then the other thing that's interesting is, let's go back to Resolution 2106. So I've left it teased out there for a while.
Yep.
And I was talking about the mayor's statement, then we got sidetracked with a couple of the questions. So the mayor came out with this big, long statement on July 29th. Beautifully written, really well read. And she says something along the effects of, if there's an issue with how this stipend was given to me, then you should also basically relitigate the Bill Ekman stipend. Okay. So obviously I know who Bill Ekman is. Our building, or I should say our room, is named after.
From the 1980s.
Ekman. Yeah, I mean, very, very influential, important mayor. I've seen a lot of comments on the La Plata community page when folks were taking shots at me saying they wish I was more like Bill Ekman. So he's got to be a pretty good dude. So like I appreciate it. Obviously a guy that has given a lot to the town of La Plata. I mean, the room that we, debate in is named the Ekman room and all that. So cool. And Ekman was put in a similar position where he was the mayor, had to basically perform the role of CEO and got a stipend. Here's the problem. You said Bill Ekman served in the 1980s. Mm-hmm. Fact check, correct? Is that true?
Oh, I thought that.
I'm asking you.
Oh, I thought I was looking at one of the previous town meetings. There was
yes, so
commentary.
It's correct.
Yes.
I'm giving you a hard time.
Oh, okay,
I'm sorry.
I'm just making sure. I'm like, let me get my facts straight.
No, you're good. You're good. Because again, I'm only sourcing things I know for sure to be true. I can't tell you exactly what years he was the mayor or what year the stipend was given. But let's assume it's 1980s. Heck, I'll give you. He could have been the mayor any date before. What is it? April 26, 2021. So any of those arguments fall short because Resolution 2106 states that the mayor's salary is capped at $21K. Yeah. So I don't frankly care what happened in the 1980s because I don't know what resolution was there at the time. Now, maybe we do have to go relitigate it if we want to do our due diligence and you think that that's a good use of the taxpayer money. Mayor James, introduce it yourself and do it. I will not introduce it because I don't think it's a good use of the taxpayer dollars. Bill Ekman's not currently serving in office. He doesn't influence the trust of La Plata. But you know who does? The current mayor, the current presiding officer, the person that's the subject of the questions that I'm asking here today. So I think that argument is basically a big red herring to go, look over here at this shiny object.
Don't look at me.
Bill Ekman got a stipend. Okay, but you passed a resolution that states why that's wrong. You passed that, or well, I shouldn't say you passed it. Obviously, it's the will of the council. So she wrote it. She actually didn't even vote on it, which is really interesting. I want to find out what happened there. So she introduced it. Council members all voted on it, and then you could see that Mayor James did not vote on it. Really weird. Doesn't matter. Don't care.
Okay.
It passed. So that's the resolution. That's the way that we go. And yeah, I mean, again, so like you want to use a 1980s example, but the new law was passed in 2021 or new resolution.
And nowhere in the resolution does it say anything about the CEO receiving a stipend or anything at all.
It talks about the mayor's salary and then benefits, total compensation, councilman's salary and total compensation. And then it states during that term you cannot change. If you want to change it, it has to go through another term. And that's
for the next
I believe that's in the charter and code as well. So I like she brings that up, and I was sitting there. It's like, well, if I had a chance to respond, I'd love to talk about that. But you table the conversation. Yeah. You bring up, or I shouldn't say you. I use royal you, but
no, you're good.
Mayor James brings up an interesting point where she goes, I served as town CEO. I did the job well. This is a non-issue. Okay, but then there's a big difference in the charter between manager and CEO. You never use the phrase town manager when referring to yourself before September 3rd. You start using it after September 3rd. You've been in that same position as you claim to be, but you're using different vernacular during that time period.
And you took the money.
You took the money, so Councilman Sampson.
And after this, we'll do comments for
and got
everybody.
back pay for the money too.
Yeah.
So and back. But Councilman Sampson brought up an interesting point. We were talking. I'm not trying to put him on blast or anything, but he brought up an interesting thing. He goes, if somebody were put in this position where at least these questions could be asked, did you ask these questions? And if you had the same interpretation, and he goes, that it seems like you do, pointing to me, and that I do, why did you take it? And my argument, I said this at the July 29th meeting. Give me a second here.
Mm-hmm. You're good to go.
Yeah, I said, I think it's interesting that you use, quote, I think it's interesting that you use the phrase transparency and you're concerned for it. But if you're going to table this conversation, like, how can you argue that, right? So the quote is, I think it's interesting to use the phrase transparency and you're concerned for it if you're going to table this conversation. I've received 25 comments in the last 28 days on this. Folks deserve to hear what happened. I think if everything is above board like you say, you should have no problem answering the questions I have for you in this discussion. I mean, again, I'm not super smart. I went to UD. UD's a great school.
Okay.
Right? President graduated from there now. I think Governor Christie. So we got a couple, big wigs. Taylor Swift's dad graduated from UD, by the way. Shout out, right? So we got a couple cool alums, right? Rich Gannon, Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Town council member from La Plata now, right? So we're starting to move up a little bit. But, respect. Thank you. But I'm not a Yale or Harvard grad or anything like that, but this seems simple to me, man. Like, if my son got his hand stuck in the cookie jar and I said, John, what are you doing? And he goes, we're not going to talk about it.
We're going to table this.
Oh, okay. Let's go turn on Power Rangers, bud. Sounds great. No, you'd be like, what? What do you mean we're not talking about it? You don't get to decide that. Now, the council does get to decide that, and the council has decided they don't want to talk about it, and this is where I'll shamelessly plug again. Please reach out if you're interested on this matter to legislative@townoflaplata.org. Any of the council members, you can reach out to me. I'll forward it to whoever you want. And Chuck Stevens, reach out to them because if there is no public sentiment or want for this issue, it is going to die. And I think that's actually appropriate. So if people are not as interested in this topic, as it has been presented to me. I mean, again, I'm getting comments all the time on it. I can't believe there's council members stating that they don't get comments on this. And I also don't believe that. Let me give a reason why I don't believe that. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that because if this issue was a true non-issue, I don't think the conversation would have been tabled. I'll put it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like power is always with the people.
Yeah.
And you want to see more people reach out.
Absolutely.
And then you will continue to fight for the issue.
Absolutely. And
if
again,
if the public wants it.
Yes.
I think the public wants it. I'm looking at this comment section. I think they want to fight.
And if nobody cared, it'd be a quick, let's have the conversation, get over with.
Yeah, and
you're right.
I don't want to give any political advice to, and I call Mayor James an opponent because we're not enemies, right? I think an enemy is, like we were talking about military action earlier, right? Like two people that really, we can't get along at all. I actually think Mayor James wants the best for La Plata. I think she goes about it in a different way than I would go about it. And that's why you have political differences, right? And I think that's fair. I think some of the things that Councilman Gutenberg has on his agenda might be different than what Councilman Sampson has on his agenda. And what Councilman Johnson has is probably different than what I want.
Yeah.
That's why we have 5 of us.
Yeah.
And we come to a consensus, and the 3 of us, or 4 or 5, but it has to be at least 3.
Three.
Right?
Make it work.
Get to move that forward. So, a couple of things on that. Why do I bring that up? I was talking about Mayor James being an opponent on this issue, right? I don't want to give political advice to my opponents, but it seems like, based off of how the tabling conversation went, that she at least has 3 people, right, herself, Councilman Gutenberg, and Councilman Johnson, that think this is a non-issue or don't want to talk about it. So she has, it seems like, a majority. So if she were smart, in my opinion, she would have the conversation. I would get voted down 3-2. And then she could go out on Facebook or whatever and say, look at this whiny guy. He got voted down. Yeah. I won. The rest of the council doesn't agree with him. But she's not doing that. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to give you the advice, Mayor James, but maybe we do that, and then maybe somebody changes their vote with the evidence presented to them. I don't know, but it's really interesting that that's not the case. Like, why would you not have this conversation? Seems like you have the majority in your corner on this issue, but I feel like, again, because there's receipts, there's actual quotes, there's documents, charter, resolution 21. I mean, on and on and on and on and on it goes. Mm-hmm. This is not just some dude twirling a mustache in their basement going, how do I ruin La Plata today? I would argue it's actually me going, how do I make sure that the transparency of La Plata is increased? How do I make sure the trust gets to a level where folks can actually look and say, wow, my government official is working on my behalf and not for, and I'm not alleging that this is Mayor James or anybody else, their personal interest or anything like that. It is the job of the council to represent the 10,800 people in La Plata, not themselves. And I get it. This is an issue that's tough to talk about. But with how many comments I've gotten alone, this absolutely justifies a place on the agenda.
So this is what I'll say. Then I want to read the comments from there.
Sure.
Carlos, I'm curious. Mm-hmm. Who has Mayor James donated to on that council?
Oh, you mean to be a council member?
As far as like a campaign donation.
Yeah, I wonder if it's that, or if it's even the like political wins that you can just like say, hey, look, I'll throw you this, you throw this to me. I mean, my other question is too, how much has all the stipends equaled up? Because it looks like to me around like what 80K maybe.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
I would like to see who she's donated to.
As far as council. like who she moved.
Kind of like Thomasina, Ralph Patterson kind of.
Or what would also be interesting to see as the council meetings continue.
Look it up.
What votes
and how
she decides to vote for certain things, or does the members who have sided with her on this decide to vote certain ways to kind of say like, hey, look, I scratch your back here, you scratch my back here.
And then if I'm in trouble, then
yeah. You ever need something, I got you.
And then here we go.
Yeah.
Let's read these comments.
You ever need a little stipend?
Everybody, I appreciate your patience. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
I want to read these comments, and then we'll go from there. So also for you, Patrick, a couple comments directed for you.
Sure.
And then I'll let you answer it live to the people.
Great.
All right. Starting all the way from the top, everybody, hello, how you doing? We'll get out the way.
What's up, y'all?
Jax, I see you in the comment section. Jax, thank you very much for commenting, being part of the process. I'm going to read a couple comments from you here. CEO, town manager, power duties. Let's have like an X in between.
Good divide sign.
Divide. That's the divide sign?
Yeah.
That's what I need. I have optometry appointment. All right. It sounds like Jax also says it sounds like CEO and town manager are basically the same functions when there's only a mayor and no town manager. So it seems like the semantics of the word choice.
Yeah. So if you remember, and I think it might have been a quarter of the way through the conversation when I explained that, think of your town manager like the president, and in your voting body like the legislative body. There is a reason why the town mayor serves as town CEO, not town manager. It's to incentivize basically getting a town manager in there based off of my interpretation and, frankly, the way that La Plata has operated by hiring town managers. And you don't want to have the executor potentially not act on the will of the council if they disagree with it. And I'm not saying this is what has happened, right? But this is why it is an issue. Let's say, for example, just to use names, Mayor James and the former council votes to, I don't know, roll out red garbage cans. And Mayor James goes, I like the green ones, and doesn't do it. The former council, if the town manager didn't do that, would have fired the town manager. But because Mayor James is an elected official serving that capacity, you can't fire her. That's why the separation of powers is so important. So I get it. Trust me, I do. When I first was going through this, I had a similar opinion to Jack's, which is this is just semantical in nature. Town CEO, town manager, why does it matter? But then when you really go through the logical conclusions of, oh, this is why the charter is set up the way it is. This is why there is a distinction between CEO and manager, and they're not actually the same, right? The duties and responsibilities may overlap or be similar, but the title itself and the way in which the role is actioned are not the same based off of my interpretation and what the town charter says. That's why it's so important. So really, really good point by Jax, but it's important to remember why this is important.
Carlos, you want to read this one? the power and duties, or you want to go to the next one?
Let's go to the next one. No, you're good. You can keep it just right there. Sorry
So if you
about
don't,
that, Jax.
so if you don't mind,
Oh, yeah, no, go
Jax there is quoting directly from our charter, I believe.
Okay,
I
cool.
can't validate if it's true or not.
No, yeah.
But I think it's trying to strengthen Jax's argument that this is really a semantical difference. If there is no town manager, the mayor will assume the responsibilities and duties. And again, there's been no contention to that. It's once the title manager is given that's where these ethical questions and gray areas come into play. The FOIA September 3rd release clearly states town manager, not town CEO. The mayor is referring to herself as town manager. The staff is referring to her as town manager. Council members are referring to her as town manager. That's where the questions start.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No,
Okay.
definitely. And even in the, I don't know if it's a resolution bill that you point out that the mayor like crafted even says that like you can't do these things, and it even sets up these regulations. So no, you're right. But Jack said the OMA Open Meetings Act said the disclosure was failed, not the decision.
Yep.
If OMCB opinion number 143, the OMCB concluded that the town of La Plata violated the Maryland Open Meetings Act, the quote-unquote act, due to insufficient detail in the meeting and closing statement for the closed session. The board clarified that the violation pertained to the manner of reporting and not to the action itself.
I'm really glad that Jax put this comment in here because this is a big argument that Mayor James brought up on July 29th as well. So she brought up this big parade and show that, I get it. September 3rd, the way in which the disclosure of the meeting happened violated the OMA, but nothing else. In my opinion, this is just me sitting here as Councilman McCormick, I think that she is alleging that because the OMA did not state that the stipend itself was incorrect or illegal, that somehow that makes it legal. The OMA doesn't rule on it, period. So the OMA does not tell you whether or not the decision was correct or incorrect. This is a non-argument for her side or my side. The OMA deals with this simple fact, the question of transparency. If this was above board, I feel, just like any other closed session, you would have correctly published this to the public. But you didn't. And I know you didn't because the OMA tells me you didn't. The Open Meetings Act, or I should say the Open Meeting Committee, or whatever they're called, but the OMA violation tells me that this did not happen properly. That's the issue at hand, is the transparency of the September 3rd meeting. I am not alleging that the way in which the stipend was given was illegal because of the OMA. They don't rule on that. That's like asking a traffic cop to do a homicide investigation.
Yeah.
They don't overlap.
Yeah.
Right? So this is not the argument that Jax or Mayor James believe it is.
The analogies are really good
that.
too.
Yeah, I'm not
I wanna
alleging
give you that.
I'm not alleging that.
SAT
right?
scores.
I'm not making
Right.
I'm not making that argument at all.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Jax. The OMA did not mention anything about the decision. Doesn't make it right or wrong.
Pascal mentioned Open Meetings Act violations are crazy. There are definitely some questions. David, how you doing, man?
What's up, David?
It's good to hear from you. Good to see you tuned in too. It says certainly deserve to be known by voters before the municipal election.
Yeah, so I brought this up. Councilman Johnson
I agree.
did put this in the Facebook chat and then or the Facebook group, and then it got some negative, comments, and then it kind of died out.
Negative in which way? Negative towards him for putting in the comments,
No,
or
it
negative
was
towards
again. Don't
mayor?
Yeah, I don't. No, not towards the mayor. Or at least I don't remember it being negative towards the mayor.
Oh wow.
Listen, let me be clear on this.
No, go ahead.
I don't have a great record of this, so I may correct the record after this. I don't know, but I remember something along the lines of Councilman Johnson. I don't know if he put in the actual FOIA itself. I can't remember if he snipped it or if he just put a quick blurb. I don't remember what the post was, but essentially the post was, "Hey, just so you guys are tracking, Mayor James is the one that got the stipend, not Michelle Minor." That was basically the crux of the post.
Okay.
And, the comments were similar to the arguments we were making. $21,000 is too low. If she was doing a job, it's all okay. Maybe this isn't as big of an issue as you think. We're running an election. We don't have the same information that these council members had. And I got to be honest with you, this really wasn't super on my radar during the election. And I don't think it was on really anybody's radar that much because we're trying to win an election.
Yeah.
Right? The big issue, the two biggest topics were LEOPS and APFO.
Oh,
I
and
mean,
that's another thing. I
yeah.
do want to get into that.
Yeah,
later
yeah,
on
yeah.
as
We
talk
could
about
say that
stuff
to the
too.
end,
Yeah.
right? But those were the two big things that we were talking about a lot. So when Johnson came to me, and I'm sure he went to some other candidates. I don't know if he did or didn't. I would assume, like, obviously, you know, the three of us, if you would call it, you know, kind of knew about this. What you don't want to do is you want to allege something that may or may not be true.
Yeah.
We didn't have all the facts. I didn't go through the council meetings at the time. You know, when I went through the council meetings, when I was done door knocking and meeting residents, and I had some time to go home and go, okay, listen, this is something people have brought up. I want to find the truth out here. Oh, crap. It looks like there are some questions that need to be answered. So let me take some onus real quick because it's important for politicians to do this. If I could go back in time, there are two things I would do differently. And I'm allowed to say this because it's not inflammatory, it's not defamatory, it's not alleging harm, and it's truthful in nature because it's my personal opinion on this. I would have ran a stricter campaign where I would have promoted Wayne Winkler for mayor. So just to start that, when I door knocked, if I knew what I know then, I would have tried to promote Wayne Winkler more. And two, I would have pursued this more. Okay? I didn't. And I didn't because I focused my attention on making sure that I won my election at the time. You know, and making sure that I got the office so that I could do what I thought was in the best interest of La Plata based off of the feedback I received. APFO, transparency, LEOPS. So that's why. So David, let me say I agree. I wish that folks knew about this during the election. If I had the same information then that I had today, I think it would have been pursued more. For that, it's a learning experience, and I apologize. What I can tell you is the moment I found out about the truth, the actual quotes themselves, the statements, the FOIA request, the OMA coming out after we were in office, by the way, that's when I started to pursue it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Right?
Yeah, and you got to be accountable to yourself.
Okay.
I
No,
wish
you're
I
right.
wish I knew more.
No, you're right.
Yep.
We don't hear that a lot in politics around here. So, no, that's refreshing.
Oh, around here? Nah, never.
No.
Jax, the June 29th meeting, it was stated that there was past procedure precedent for this action. It's been done before. Shrug.
So I'll ask this question. I don't know if Jax lives in La Plata or not. You're not supposed to, come at, individuals or anything like that. I'm not coming at Jax. But Jax, I would ask to get a transcript of the meetings that you listened to because this was discussed just like the other questions as well. Resolution 2106 was passed in 2021. The example here was in 1980. It doesn't matter what happened in 1980 because the new law was passed in 2021, right? And the new law in 2021 is capping the mayor's salary and stating you can't increase the salary during that actual term in office. So that's why the Bill Ekman example that the mayor and that I think you're alluding to here, it doesn't work. It falls flat in my opinion.
Carlos?
Ooh, I mean, it doesn't make it. I agree with what you're saying because it's hard to imagine that we compare what happened with Mayor James to what happened before the resolution was even put in. And to me, it's even harder to kind of see Mayor James as like an innocent party in this, especially when you're the person who crafted the resolution. Like you legit wrote the rules that you're now saying I'm not going to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, again, if we want to go through analogies real quick, this is like trying to relitigate an election when there was 20 states and saying, well, you didn't have enough electoral votes when there were 50 states. It's a completely different ball game playing field, right? Like, it's a different rule set. Back in 1980, I have no idea what the latest resolution was on mayor salary and town CEO stipend. But I can tell you in 2021, the latest one that was passed, what should have been enforced in 2024 when this meeting happened in September. That's why the Bill Ekman example, in my opinion, falls flat. So I think you nailed it. Again, I'm not alleging it because everything's
Of course.
just based off of personal interpretation, what I've read here and the facts related. But I kind of agree with you. If you wrote the document, you should probably know it better than anyone else.
Yeah. Wow. And even it was one of these I did want to point out.
I didn't want to miss anything. They're replying to each other there.
Yep. They're having a good conversation. Love that. David Heidelbach asks, does the mayor have an actual job? Like just outside of being mayor, maybe he means actual a 9 to 5.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard a couple different things, right? So there was something way back in the day where I think the mayor was teaching at a school and
It's a bus company?
Is that? I don't know if that's a joke.
No, we
from
don't
the
know.
last podcast.
Yeah, it is. It really is a big
Okay,
joke.
yeah.
That's
Again, to be fair, like there are people
of
legitimately
families.
listening that are looking for defamation. So I just want to make sure I don't get
no,
in trouble.
No, you're good. You're
We're
good,
joking.
you're
We're
good.
laughing.
You're
It's
good.
parody.
Yeah, it's us.
I don't know. I think she taught at a school or something, but I don't know. And again, like these are things that they are important to know. Like, it's a good question, and honestly, I should probably know that. So to take some self ownership, like I should definitely know my presiding officer a little bit better. But to be honest with you, with somebody with what I perceive to be this track record, I don't know how well I want to know him. So I'll be honest there too. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she has an actual job. I've heard rumors of all sorts of different things, but the one that I think kind of makes the most sense is I think she teaches at a school or something like that, or does a survey class or whatever.
Well, as mayor, making 21,000, you definitely gotta have a.
You gotta have something.
Yeah, I mean that's
it ain't a 9 to 5 job, which is crazy.
Well, I
by
mean,
the way.
well, I
Running
mean,
it-
if I'm
well,
getting a
if you're-
$10,000 a month stipend, I
And
may
that
not need
too.
another job.
But so true. But to be fair, and this is what we talked about, the reason that the mayor makes $21,000, we make $15,000, is that we have a town manager and staff.
Yeah.
Our job is simply to give the direction to the staff to execute on the behalf of the people of La Plata. It is not for us to run day-to-day operation, and that's where I think these ethical questions come into play.
Yeah.
Right now, if we want a full-time mayor, I don't agree with it, obviously, right now. But if we wanted a full-time mayor, we could have that discussion, have a charter amendment update, figure out what a proper pay for that is, 80,000, 100,000, 200, I have no idea. People can come together, make their public comments as per in accordance with charter updates, send it over to the state, and make the mayor a full-time position and get rid of the town manager or make them an assistant or whatever. But that's not how it's set up right now. So I can only operate in realities and not what I want.
There you go.
Yeah,
Right?
that is crazy that you're a mayor of a town. Obviously, 10,000 plus people, and it's not a full-time gig.
Well, that's why we
I
have
mean,
a
I'm
town
not
manager.
surprised.
Yeah,
You're
but
surprised? I'm not
but-
surprised by that.
But here's the thing, though: who was elected?
Well, the five of us were, right? So again, it's
The mayor was elected,
Yeah.
not for a town manager to.
yeah, but
I see it similar to the county. Like how
That's also- I
how
mean-
basically the county day to day is run by
The actual administrative
the actual
staff, yep.
administrative staff, but in the county only has the power to hire and fire them. So it's kind of like we're
Electing somebody to hire.
like a manager. We're just electing managers of the actual people who run government, which is a little. I mean, to your point, Ricky, is a little
a little shadowy.
a little bit.
But we could also we could talk about this if we want to get real interesting. I don't think we
Yeah.
should do it for this podcast. I think this is the charter debate, right? Like that we just
it
had,
is, yeah.
a year ago
Yeah,
or 2
yeah.
years
No,
ago.
you're right.
or
I mean,
whatever. That's what. But again, we have to deal in reality. I can want all day for the Ward 2 council member to make $500,000. I think that would be great for La Plata, and I think that would be in the best interest of our folks. But guess what? I doubt that'll pass. It's not reality, and we can't operate like that.
It's not what you're currently doing.
It's not what I'm currently doing.
There you go.
Yep.
Let's keep going. I want to get through all these comments.
Yeah.
Carlos, if you see something here. Oh, this I want to read right here. Jax, the charter says the mayor as CEO does all the duties of the town manager.
What was that? Sorry. Which comment am I looking at here?
I'll
right
highlight
there.
it for you.
The charter says the mayor, as CEO,
Yep.
does all the duties.
Yeah,
You
again,
answered that
I
about
agree.
how
I've talked about this ad nauseum. So, as CEO, the duties of town manager, but not the title. That's the whole argument here. That is the difference between them, right? So, as town CEO, what you're doing is you're executing the will of the council, but you're still not running day-to-day operations like a town manager would, because that leads to all those ethical questions that we had earlier, and that's why the charter has a difference between the two roles themselves.
And you even
That's-
kind of said it before in one of your not testimonies, but one of the quotes was from a one of the staff members who were saying like
This is a precarious situation.
It's kind of hard to be like, hey, you're in
'cause-
charge, CEO of the budget or town manager of the budget stuff, but
Yeah.
you also get a vote on it. So
Yeah, that's a really good point. So the staffer's like, listen, I'm supposed to build this budget based off of what the town manager tells me. I don't have one right now. Oh, wait, I do. It's you, right? Puts me in a really weird spot.
Yeah.
And now you're voting on it.
The math ain't mathing.
Yeah, these are. This is why the charter's set up the way it is. This is
Yeah.
why it should not be operating that way.
wow. Okay. Yeah. There's also one further down, Ricky, from me. I don't know if you have one before that. I was going to go to Sophia.
Well, real quick, I want to talk
go ahead,
about
go ahead.
David's comment real quick. Thank you, David.
Which one?
It's nice to have some positive comments. I agree. It is crazy that there are individuals that feel that they have to defend scrutinizing this outrageous action. I agree, David. If you know folks in La Plata, yourself as well, again, please give an email to legislative@townoflaplata.org, any of your council members, the mayor herself, or Chuck Stevens on this issue. I agree. It is crazy. Like I was talking to Ricky here a little bit earlier, I can't keep bringing this up at town council meetings, though. That would be inappropriate. So if we want this reintroduced, we're going to need the public sentiment to get behind it.
It wouldn't, if you to bring it up, I mean, it's part of one, it's just an agenda topic for the...
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is to introduce a vote on censure after the town council has made it clear that they don't want to talk about that. I think would be pretty inappropriate. This would be like, for example, just to use another analogy real quick. Okay. Let's say... and this isn't a power that we have, but let's just say it is, for example. So Councilman Sampson, I don't know if he does or doesn't, but he's a big ice cream fan, okay? And he goes, I want 3 Dairy Queens built next to each other in La Plata. I want to put it on the agenda. And he puts the topic on the agenda for introduction. We all go, that's a dumb idea. We don't want to vote on it. And the next meeting goes, I want to have this on the agenda. At some point, you'd be like, dude, what are you doing? That is the same thing that's happening here. Unfortunately, I think this issue is way more important than 3 Dairy Queens next to each other, carries validity and weight, and really deals with the issue of transparency, but that's why I think it's inappropriate, if that makes sense. So I need some public sentiment here if you want this to push forward. And if the town doesn't want this to push forward, I'll go as on many podcasts, I'll put up as many Facebook posts, keep talking about it.
Would you go the ethics board route? And I also want to ask too, who decides who sits on the ethics board? Is that the council and the mayor?
Yeah. So same appointment process for almost every committee out there is an individual will apply. They kind of get vetted by that actual committee. It comes before the council, and the council votes on it. So we actually had
a little conflict of interest for an ethics commit.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep my comments to myself on this because this will actually get me in trouble. I was on the ethics commission. There's a reason I ran for office. I'll leave it at that. So draw your conclusions. But to answer your question shortly, like, I don't think it's based off of some of the things that you have observed. That is why I'm not comfortable going through the ethics commission for this. The other thing is, and I talked about this earlier, this is actually a power that should only go through the town council, in my opinion. We should police our own. No town staff should police a council member. We're duly elected folks. So the only person that should be able to reprimand me are 3 of my council members or the mayor coming together and saying, what Councilman McCormick did we think is inappropriate. And they may do it for me going on this podcast. That's okay. And then I get to, claim the victim, and I don't want to give more political advice to y'all, but do this, and I'm just going to become more and more popular, and this issue will just gain more and more traction. So
there we go.
Feel free. And I don't mean this as, a threat or anything. I'm not joking. Just if you feel that a council member has acted outside of their norms of procedure, you have the right to introduce that and hold that person accountable. That's all I'm asking for here. That's all. It's really not that hard. I'm not asking for the OSP to come in or, the AG or anything like that. I'm asking for, can the 5 of us decide if what happened here was okay or not?
I got some more questions for that. We'll come back to that. But we'll keep going through these comments. Make sure the people.
But David, thank you. I know we got super off track, but thank you for that comment.
We love the comment section.
Yeah, thank you.
Comment section is fantastic. Carlos, you want to get to this one right here?
But the code gives the mayor those duties. Without a town manager, they have the power of the duties to make the daily decisions as a town. And I feel like we've
talked about this. There's a difference between the duties. Jay Gullo and I went through that argument already in the actual title itself and why that's important. And it's important to note that Mayor James and the rest of the council, it seems based off of quotes, recognize that as well, because from the day that Brent quit or resigned to September 3rd, 0 mentions of the mayor being town manager. After September 3rd, mayor is town manager.
Yeah.
That's their quotes, not me alleging that.
Okay, cool. Cool. So Pascal Small, what's up, Pascal?
What's up, Pascal?
There are other boards in our county that are more likely violating the Open Meetings Act. Executive sessions aren't intended for any board to discuss everything under the sun, but many do, and it creates a lack of transparency and affects public trust.
Yeah, so I won't comment too much on the county. Obviously,
Of course.
I think
Yeah,
that's a
for
little
sure.
inappropriate for
It's
me.
the last half of that.
But it's an important point, right? We want to make sure. I should rephrase. I want to make sure, because I'll only speak for myself. I would hope everybody does that's an elected official, but I want to make sure transparency is a top issue. There's an old joke in politics: you don't want to know when the president takes a crap. I get it. There's too much transparency sometimes, but there should be a lot. And this is an issue that I think has to come to light. We need an answer on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. There was one, I don't know if we want to save that till later on. What's that one?
David talking about political contributions. We can take a look at that. How can we find political contributions?
Would
So-
that be on the Merlin Chris system, or is that separate?
I don't think you'll be able to find it for a town election. So this is interesting. So
Really? Oh.
so let me talk about
what?
this real quick. And I want to preface with the defamation and inflammatory comments because this is based off of the information I have available right now. Okay? So we all did I don't want to call it a debate, but like a forum. With the Democratic 4th and 5th Club. Okay?
You know them well?
Cool people.
Yeah.
Actually, cool people.
I had a great time. It was at a Green Turtle afterwards at a Guinness.
yeah.
Like, it was pretty sweet.
Lady who
Yeah.
runs it, a short lady, older lady, really, really cool, knows a lot about.
So Tina's the
South
person
County.
that I know, right?
Oh,
So
Tina Wilson.
Yeah, so Tina Wilson was there and all that, and yeah, like fun stuff. And she was. Let me rephrase.
Yeah.
I don't know Tina well. I met her at this
No,
event.
yeah.
But when I used the phrase APFO, she actually jumped up so much she knocked the camera down. So it was really funny if you watch the video playback. Like, there's a lot that wasn't released because I think she knocked it down. But she was clapping afterwards. Obviously, I shook her hand.
Okay, awesome.
That's how we got to meet each other and
cool.
stuff. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, I met a ton of people there. There's
yeah.
obviously a lot of county executives or administrators. I don't know what the correct term is, but like Court of Appeals and all these
Oh, yeah,
jobs. that,
everybody's-
you know, I'm the orphan court this
Yeah.
and all that, and they were all there, and
Everyone who gets recognized at the pancake
and
breakfast.
exactly. And then BJ showed up at the end and gave some advice. It was actually, I thought, pretty good advice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like it's a lot of your first time running for office. This is what you want to do, blah blah. So I appreciate that. It's always nice when somebody who's been elected comes out and offers that advice. But anyway, we had this forum, and then after the forum, there were a couple. I don't know if they're like high-ranking members of the Democratic Club or whatever, but they got to basically ask questions.
Okay.
So they sent us 3 questions. I don't remember what the 3 are off the top of my head, but I remember what one of them was. And one of them was, will you release your political contributions? And you asked me this off the record.
Yeah.
And you said, we were talking about, like, you've run for office, I've run for office now. Like, how much was it? And I said, I could tell you down to the dollar amount, right? And the reason I know that is I answered that question for that club. And I put it on, go fact check me, the La Plata community page. It's on my, I don't know if you want to call it like campaign page, but whatever Facebook page I have.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Very good.
And it's got all the information, the breakdown for what I spent for yard signs, what I spent for, I don't know, flyers for door handouts, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think Councilman Gutenberg put one out as well. I don't remember if anyone else did, to be honest with you. And again, I'm legitimately speaking from memory here. But what I do remember is Mayor James having a comment or something along the lines of, yes, I will release it. I don't ever remember seeing it. And the problem with town elections, I'm not alleging anything for the record. The problem with town elections is nothing has to be released. It's not the same.
Wait, what?
That's wild.
It's not the same rules as running for Congress or
even commissioner.
Yeah, or
You gotta
commissioner
do
or
that.
the House or Senate
School
or
board, you have to
or
release
anything, right?
anything.
It's a little different. So we had to volunteer that information, which is why I think the club asked the question.
Yeah.
And why folks like me that seek transparency answered it. So again, I'm not saying that she didn't answer it.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I remember a comment like, yes, I will, and then I don't remember ever seeing it. And trust me, I was running an election. I was really paying attention to all that stuff. And I was also interested. I think everybody that runs for council at some point would probably like to run for mayor.
Yeah.
And you want to get an idea from the person that ran before you or whatever.
Even know who's taking money from who.
Yeah, exactly. Or how does this work, right? Like, I think you were asking an interesting question up front. Like, let's say I released my findings, and it turns out that, I don't know, Union A gave me $10,000. And all of a sudden, I start voting for all these policies that benefit Union A.
Yeah.
That's an easy one-to-one correlation. I am not alleging that's what's happened here.
No, of course.
We will never know, I don't think, because to my knowledge, it hasn't been released. So, good question. A really good question. I think you should email the mayor and ask her yourself. But no, I don't remember seeing
I have
it.
a follow-up question to that too.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it.
Is that something that legislatively you all within the town council could pass legislation to make it so there has to be a reporting system?
I'll tell you, I don't know right now. I think we would need to get legal advice and find out for sure. What I could tell you is like gut reaction. Gut reaction would tell me like, because we own our own internal town election process, it's probably something we could, oversee. We have to do a financial disclosure before we run for office.
Yeah.
So I don't see why we wouldn't be able to, but I don't know. We would have to definitely get legal opinion and find
Would that
out
be something that you
what the
would
process.
that you would bring up at a town
Yeah,
council?
I think it's something important. Now let me be clear. Like, we have to remember this is a 4-year term, so I don't think right now, because unless something crazy happens, there won't be an election for 4 years, 3 years, and
however many
11 months, whatever. So I think this is appropriate to probably visit around 2026. I really do.
Okay.
And if you listen to our town council meetings, I'm not divulging anything crazy. Councilman Johnson talks all the time about charter amendments. And I think this is one that, if this is the way to do it, and again, I don't know if it is or isn't, but if this is the way to do it, I wouldn't be shocked if there's, at least some sort of appetite to talk about. And I'll tell you this, I'm a person that has an appetite to talk about that.
Awesome.
So super long answer, short answer. Yeah. I think it's important to be transparent and tell us if there's any money coming in for the election, where it's coming from. I was self-funded. I didn't take a single, dollar or anything like that. So I self-funded. It's only a couple $100, I think it was $761. And, there was a joke. Somebody was, talking to me and needling me a little bit. Probably didn't vote for me, and that's okay. Not everybody's going to vote for you. But on election day, like, I saw you released that you spent $761 for this. Like, what a dumb investment. I said, if I told you that, I could spend $761 to make $15,000 in 1 year, you would say that's a pretty good investment. And I'm not in this for the money. I'm not. I would.
That's a good comeback. Yeah, I like it. That was good.
I would gladly give the money back. But yeah, it is what
I have been one of the people who say, I think I am not a big fan of people who run for office and then say, I'm not going to take the money at all, because I see it as, what are your priorities going in? Is it going to be, hey, my priority is my personal job that gets me paid and feeds my family, or is it going to be the actual job that you have? It has to come with the salary.
No, I think that's an interesting point. I don't know if you smoke cigars or drink whiskey or anything, but if we were,
whiskey maybe.
If we were having some whiskey, cigars, and talking highfalutin politics and pulling out the old, founding documents to this country, and Locke and Hobbes and all that, I think this is an interesting conversation to have. Like, why do we pay our public officials? Shouldn't they be in it for no money at all? But to your point, okay, but I think that increases the incentive for something nefarious to happen. Yeah. Again, we are talking high level here. Yeah. We are not alleging any individual.
No, definitely.
I'm not saying that this has happened in La Plata, in Charles County, in Maryland.
Philosophical question.
We're talking philosophically, right? And I think that's fair as well.
Let's keep walking through these comments.
Yeah. Sorry, I know that got way
you're
off
good.
topic.
You are absolutely fine.
The one that I wanted to focus on. Hold on, stay right there.
So let's
Sophia, but go ahead.
Okay,
if you have one before that.
So I don't know if Daughtery is that the. Sorry, there's a glare right
Washington.
there. Is it okay if we read that one real quick? And we just have to go high level here.
Yeah,
so
you're good.
A newly elected board has the right and responsibility to review and address past financial dealings. So really glad that this came up again. I forget a lot about the mayor's comment on July 29th, because honestly, it was just, and again, so out of left field that she was able to talk about this for 5 minutes and then table it without anybody being able to address it. That I was, what? But the mayor brought this up. If an elected body were to go through the past decisions of every other elected body, where would that lead us? It would lead us to what government is today, Madam Mayor. That's what governments do all the time. I don't know if you know this. If we didn't do that, we'd have the same charter from 1888, and we never questioned a decision in La Plata. Of course, we're able to go back and reinvestigate and relitigate and re-rule and figure out new ordinances and laws and resolutions that work in the best interest of LaPlatians today in 2025. And yeah, 2024 is really close, right? It's only a year away, but things in the landscape has shifted. It really has shifted here. And as we're finding out more evidence, right? Because May 20th, we removed the stipend. That's great. But more evidence came out June 5th because the OMA violation came out that day, right? So new stuff came in. We still haven't talked about it. Still have not talked about it as a council. You preside over that meeting. Now, she makes a couple interesting arguments. So in that, she brings up, like, we can never look over what an old council has done. Yeah, we can. That's how governments work. Yeah, and you want to know how I know that? We removed the stipend. So we've already set the precedent that we're going to remove things that the previous council has done. But the other thing is, when you look at this issue, she'll also say things like, this breaks trust, or there's a personal motive here. There's no personal motive. I promise you. My wife is not super thrilled that I'm sitting here, right? We're spending Tuesday nights hanging out with, and I say this lovingly, right? Nerds, like people that love policy and like talking about this stuff and want to make a positive change. Like, I want to go have a cigar and a beer with my wife and, hang out with my son on those Tuesdays. But we talked about this, Catholic, military, like, why'd you serve? Giving back to your community, I think, is incredibly important. So, yeah. Part of our power, to Daughtery's point, is we have the right and responsibility to look back at past financial decisions and determine, like, hey, was this inbounds or out of bounds? And that's the only question I'm asking. Was this inbounds or out of bounds? Got a lot of quotes. Again, we could go through it. A lot of evidence here that it seems like to me the question at least has to be asked.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. That's all we're at. So, Daughtery, thank you. Sorry, I just want to call that out because...
Oh, no, definitely. Go ahead.
Because I totally agree with that comment.
Carlos, you had a comment you wanted to read?
Yeah, it's the one from Sophia Conrad. Can you tell us about the lawsuit you filed against the town? I didn't see it in your post.
No, so it's a really good point, Sophia. So again, the mayor alluded to a tort claim that I filed against the town. So, Sophia, I understand. I probably think the same thing you did if I was in your position and not involved in the day-to-day operations of the town.
You said tort claim?
Yeah, tort claim demand letter. So essentially... it's a notice to sue. So if these demands aren't met within a certain time window, I'm going to sue the town, the mayor, whatever. Okay. So I wrote a tort demand letter because I was seeking a temporary restraining order for all I'll call it is a different topic. But one of the things that I looped into it was the mayor, took the stipend, and I'm asking for her to repay it back. I have not sued the town. Not going to sue the town. I think I've said that, but I have not sued the town. I'm not going to sue the town. I just wrote that demand letter to ensure that a temporary restraining order was put on my behalf. Obviously, it didn't work, so it was a political play that I pushed, and it didn't come to fruition. So I have not sued the mayor. Yes, I haven't addressed it because it's not coming to fruition. I'm not going to sue the town. I think it's inappropriate and irresponsible for a council member to sue the town that they serve for. So
wow,
yeah. So I put it in as a political pressure tactic. Good bluff call. Well done by the town. But yeah, no, I'm not going to sue the town. Again, all I want is to get this on the agenda. I'm going through all the rules. It's not getting on the agenda. So now I'm trying to, utilize the rules in place to force it on the agenda, and it's still not getting on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Sophia, great question. You are right. If I didn't bring it up, I wouldn't be transparent, but I am bringing it up. I'm answering the question directly. I'm not suing the town. I'm not going to sue the town. I'm making it clear here. I made it clear at a closed session. So that's the end of that discussion.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Carlos, any thoughts on that?
I'm glad you cleared it up because even to a lot of people, because I went back and watched that June meeting, and the way she or the mayor presented it as like there's a tort claim, and then we
need a town attorney here for everything
because it may be a lawsuit, and it means and I think she was even saying that the tort claim means that you are looking to possibly sue. So it's like the way that she was saying it was like, hey, there will be a lawsuit coming, so we just gotta check bases. I'm glad that you're like clearing it up here. Of like there was nothing said that we're gonna have a lawsuit.
So to be fair, that's not necessarily true. So a tort demand letter is I'm gonna sue you in this amount of time period if these demands aren't met.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's what a
but you're
tort
saying
demand
now
letter
that you
is.
wouldn't sue.
Well, no, of course not. Of course I'm not gonna sue. But it was, it's every now and then you gotta go all in with do 7 off suit, right?
Of course. Hey,
I'm trying to get all I'm trying to do for the people of La Plata. I think I made this clear. is I want to have this conversation on the open record once and for all, every council member to determine within their powers that they're given by the state constitution of Maryland the ability to rule if what happened here was okay or not, and then move forward. And I'll never talk about it again once we talk about it on the public record and there's a vote. And if it's 4-1 against me, I will still not talk about it again. You can look at my emails with Mr. Stevens. Go FOIA request them. I'll go release them myself. Go talk to Mr. Stevens himself. I've brought this up 50 bajillion times. It's obviously an exaggeration for those of you that are trying to get me here. Like, this is a non-issue. I'm not suing the town. I'm not going to sue the town. That's irresponsible. That's incorrect for a town council member to do.
Awesome.
Yep. No, great question, and I do appreciate it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Anything you looking at, Ricky, or you want me to keep going?
Keep going.
All right, cool. What's up, David? So he said hi. It's some talk about the financial disclosures. Jax S said Maryland does not require disclosure. I'm not sure what they mean by Jax. You mean by that? Because I know.
Sorry, where are we at? Sorry,
right
okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. So yeah, even with Jax saying that Maryland doesn't require disclosure, Maryland does when you run, like if you run for delegate, you have to disclose who you're receiving campaign contributions from. Delegate, I think every level of office other than the municipality of.
So I'm not educated enough to answer.
No,
that,
you know,
right?
yeah,
So I don't know for sure.
No, yeah.
But it sounds
definitely
sounds right. I mean, you ran for office. You tell me.
Answer that from this side because it's the Maryland Chris system.
Yeah, but real quick. So Jax has a comment. Says sounds like the majority wants to move on. Stop talking about it. I agree. I'm not at a town council meeting talking about this.
There we go.
I totally agree.
Shout out to that.
I'm allowed to talk about this in my own capacity as a council member with free will, free thought, and free speech. I'm not alleging anything that is factually incorrect or that I'm purposely trying to cause malice. This is not defamatory or inflammatory in nature.
Okay, I love that.
I'm just moving down.
No, you're good. Stay right there. You're good.
I'm going to work.
Wait. David, La Plata was very different in 1980. Do we star or give like right? Do anything? I totally agree.
About 45 years
Yeah,
ago.
thank you.
Yeah. I wasn't even born back then. Wow. So I love what David said there too. This is another example of how absence of journalism is killing us. That's why we're here, David.
Yeah.
Let's see more independent media too.
Yeah.
So love to see more independent.
So this is a really good point. So we had a couple council members, or maybe not council members because a couple of them didn't win, but let's say candidates that were pretty frustrated during the election. Like, just do a quick search for the La Plata election and let me know what you find.
I couldn't find it.
You're not going to find
I
a
looked
lot,
it up
right?
while y'all running. Could not find news about anything.
Now, I would argue since the election, there's been a couple stories, but honestly, a lot of them are about these negative things. Let me just take 2 seconds here to plug some of the things this council has actually done.
Go ahead.
Right. So one, and I talked about this, we're in the discovery phase for LEOPS, which is great for our police force, and we could talk about that. I think you might have a different opinion.
No. Yeah,
that's okay, right?
Yeah.
This is why politics is a practical science. We actually got a 1.5%, and I don't know if it's bonus or raise, what the correct vernacular is, but a 1.5% bonus for every town staffer. Okay, so it's my understanding the last 3 years they had not received any sort of bonus or raise like that. Wow. We came in, we saw that there was a surplus in the budget, and we gave that directly back to the town staff. Awesome. And before residents are like, does that mean we were overtaxed? I think you need to ask that question and send an email to legislative at Town of Plata, all the same names that I said before. I think those are good questions to ask, and I've definitely been asking them. Go watch the May 27th meeting. But yeah, like these are good things we've done. We just approved USDA loan, and this USDA loan is going to be interesting because the way I understand it, it's going to help with our wastewater treatment plant and our overall water capacity within La Plata, kind of getting it, to a higher area where we can do 2 million gallons of water per day is the way I understand it from the staff report. And the best part is because the USDA loan is at such a low interest rate for the repayment plan, there's a built-in mechanism for the town to actually make money on this by putting a certain amount guaranteed per year into our reserve fund, which obviously is an interest-bearing account. So it's a way for the town to make money, replenish the money that we already spent for the Modification 1 upgrade at our wastewater treatment plant, and continue ensuring that that we're getting the best result for water usage in our town. So this council has done a lot of good things, and you're going to see every now and then on Facebook, like, Councilman McCormick doesn't have his eye on the ball because all he's talking about is this issue. That's not true. This is the juiciest issue. Yeah. This is the issue that And I listen, the Baynet has put out some very interesting articles. Southern Maryland Chronicle has put out some really interesting articles. Highly recommend you read them. But yeah, these are the juicy stories that pick up the press and the publicity. But this council, 5-0 decisions for those things that I talked about, so completely unified. To include the two best friends that sit next to each other. These are the things that we believe is in the best interest of La Plata, and we've been voting for. So this council is doing a lot of great things, and my eye is certainly on the ball.
There we go.
Yep, and we're not just talking about this, to be fair. So I do want to shamelessly plug that. I know we're 2.5, 3 hours in. I don't know who's still listening.
No,
but
you're good. No, you're good.
But that is it there. Yep.
No, actually, thank you for clarifying that. And there was a clarifying comment that someone made. Yes, David, I do want to get to the water too. Before we go. So I'm saying this one last comment that who is it? Jack said about the pay that you mentioned, and then we can start going into.
Do you mind highlighting again? Sorry,
no, I'm sorry. Ricky, go all the way down, right there. The third comment, Jack's. Jack said, to be clear, he's selectively picking his words. All staff received a COLA increase every year. So to say, quote, no increase is not true. They did get a merit, but they did not all get increases.
Yeah, so this is, again, if you're going to accuse me of semantics, let me lob the accusation back real quick. So what's COLA stand for? Cost of living adjustment. It's something that's industry standard. So it's not actually a raise if the inflation causes your purchasing power to remain the same with the COLA. When we're talking about a bonus here, we're talking about 1.5% increase to that individual being able to purchase, in theory, 1.5% more of goods and services. So this is a legitimate raise and bonus. This is something that was used from the budget surplus itself. Was something that passed 5-0. It's something that has not happened in 3 years. COLA adjustments are not raises. They're basic industry standard expectations. And this is something unique that this council has done that hasn't happened in 3 years. So again, it's important to celebrate those successes.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that too. So, any more, Ricky, on the mayor stuff, or I was going to go to the.
I'm taking a look, David.
Leopold's water and other stuff.
David real big water too. I'll talk David on the side.
No, that's what he put in there too about the water.
Everything else. I'm trying to make sure we didn't miss
if
anything.
you don't mind, I don't know
up.
if Sophia's still watching, if she can comment or not.
Yep.
But she wrote something dodging the question. I don't know if she's talking to me or somebody out there. But I want to give Sophia the opportunity. If that question is directed at me, I didn't answer something. Please put it in the chat. Let me know. Because I want to make sure I answer all the questions.
No, definitely.
I feel like this may have been the question on am I suing the town, which
I think so.
Definitively I'm not. I'm stating that now. I'm not suing the town. I've stated it before. But I just want to make sure in case it's something different that I missed.
Okay. No, definitely. And then even Sophia, to your question, that you would love to hear from the mayor, was she asked to attend this forum?
We did not.
We did not. But hey, the mayor is always free to come on the podcast too.
Nah, just for podcast purposes, I like obviously Patrick. Let him say his.
Oh, of course.
Your thing. Get your word out there. Then, if Mary James wants to feel free to, she is more than welcome to sit in the chair and go from there. Then, if there's the part 3 that you want to be together, then there's more. Listen, we can do whatever the space we want to. So there's no problem with that.
I think the most appropriate venue would be at a town council meeting. All right, so let me start there. Mm-hmm. Second most appropriate venue, and I don't agree with this, would be a closed session. At least it's something. The public won't be able to see it. That's disappointing, but at least we're talking about it. Third, I agree. I'd be more than happy to meet with Mayor James anywhere. Ensure that residents get a chance to ask questions and answer them. And again, the whole point of this is not to assign blame or allege anything. It's just to get answers to these, I think, very serious questions that the evidence leads to. The question has to be asked.
And even from here, a lot of people really want to know and have a lot of questions on. So I'll say this, David, I'm going to real quick ask about the Leops. I want to say Leops. Leops question. And David, if you can just type in a question about the water, then we can ask that specifically that you want us to ask.
Now, I just want to preface with water because I am transparent. There are going to be some things I can't answer at this time on water. So just in case, I don't want to be like I'm dodging a question. I'm giving the preface beforehand. If there's something I can answer, I will answer.
Awesome.
There's some things that are still in the works I can't answer at this time.
Awesome. And then from there, then we'll wrap up from there.
So let's do it. So Leops.
Yep, we're 2 hours in.
So Leops. So I guess my question is just from my experience canvassing, Ricky, your experience from just talking to people in the community and stuff too, and your experience as a candidate and now elected official, just how many everyday residents in their top issue was the police officers getting their pension program, because to me that is a very much a insider police officer specific issue. I can see people raising the issue of either public safety or around policing issues, around excessive policing, things like that. And I also want to say too that there are some also people who would say when it comes to the La Plata Police Department, we've seen things like that pass. What was it? Make Waldorf Great Again or something? Those like challenge coins that they were going around. Yeah, there was a whole big there was a whole big thing years ago around these like coins. You remember, right? And then
maybe
of La Plata police officers who are basically like trying to patrol the Waldorf area because they're saying high crime is getting involved, and it was this big confusion of like, why are La Plata police officers coming into Waldorf? This is this whole separate thing I'm about to say real quick, is that you have a lot of people outside of Waldorf who talk bad about Waldorf, even though Waldorf is very the suburbs. It's not the city. It's not low income. It's a very wealthy black neighborhood where Waldorf's probably the reason Charles County got the black wealthiest county title.
Sure, yeah.
Stuff, but like that. But my question is, how many actual people cared about the police pensions rather than actual policing? No,
it's a good question. So a couple answers here, right? So I want to go through this fairly.
Yeah, definitely.
So do people care? Yeah, I won the election, right? So, and I don't mean this to be coy or jib or funny or anything like that, but it was my number one issue. If you look at any of my forums, my number one issue, and I was transparent up front, is I'm a military veteran. My dad was a police officer. I understand how important it is to have a local community service, because the La Plata Police Department is service-oriented in nature. Sheriff's offices are different in nature. We could go through that. Not one is better than the other. I'm not stating that, but there's a difference in what a police department does versus what a sheriff's office does. So LEOPS was my number one issue, and out of all the contested elections, I got the most votes. So I do think people do care about that issue, to be fair. And again, I door knocked on a ton of doors. When I mentioned LEOPS, there were a couple of people that were just, hey, super supportive of it already. If the police are not getting a pension that's industry standard, they should. We're in favor of that. And there are some people that push back. Hey, I think the police already make too much, or have too high of the budget, or we have too many police officers. I don't know if this is a big issue, or why don't we just get absorbed by the Charles County Sheriff's Office? And this is where LEOPS and policing, as you called it, I think are tied and not separate issues. So let me get into this. So there's an old institution. I can't remember the exact name of it. I used to quote it all the time in my sleep during the election. But as you move from the election, other issues come to bear. And LEOPS has obviously already been in work, so we haven't talked about it in a while. But there was I think it was like a pension institute or something like that. But some national institute did a study. And essentially what they found was organizations that did not have industry standard pensions, or removed their pension services, or got absorbed by the larger area around them. So for example, Jacksonville getting absorbed by state troopers, right, or something like that. That area would see a spike in crime, and it averaged anywhere from 15 to 40%, I think, off the statistic itself. So the contention that I'm making is, if we were not to give an industry standard pension to our police officers, we would see a similar spike in crime, because what would happen is the La Plata Police Department would have issues recruiting and retaining talent. And frankly, this is an issue I think may happen here in the near future. This is me talking for myself.
No, go ahead.
If I have a police force that pays below the state standard and has a pension program that's below state standard, you're going to get the lowest folks to either come in, right? So people that graduate bottom of the academy if they go to a major academy, or you're going to have less folks applying to be a La Plata police officer than they would to be Charles County,
state trooper, all that.
State trooper, you name it, right? Or Virginia, right? Which, great for Virginia, really bad for Maryland. I want Maryland to be safe first and foremost. Virginia could be second with all the other states tied for 49th, right? But I want Maryland to be safe.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I think if you have low pay and you have low benefit, you're not going to get a lot of folks interested in being a La Plata police officer. And I think we're seeing that with the recruiting and retention challenges that we currently have. And there's been a debate back and forth. It's on a couple of the May meetings. But we had somewhere of like, I don't know if it was 3 to 7 police officers leave and whatever the time period was. And there's an argument being made. They didn't leave for benefits. But then when you ask like the deeper questions, they left for benefits and they went to other police departments. So it's not like they went to a new industry. You know, clearly they're doing the same job in a different area. So we subsidize training them just for them to go make an area up north safer or another state safer, right? Like, what are we doing about that? And the other question is, okay, let's have Charles County come in. Well, Charles County gives La Plata a tax break for having our own private police force. If we got absorbed by Charles County, a couple things will happen that's unique to La Plata. First is La Plata right now has a lower crime rate than Waldorf. It's just statistically true. And I think it's somewhere close to like 1.5% lower. I don't remember the exact, but
also
it's not,
less people, things like that. So
exactly. So it's a little bit lower. So what's going to happen is if these folks are Charles County is going to obviously deploy police officers to areas that have a higher need for police. Waldorf, right? Or wherever. Okay. Makes sense. Got it. Understand. But the people of La Plata would be subsidizing something that a service they already had provided to them, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And again, like we could talk about the difference between service-oriented and sheriff's department. I think it's important to have both. I think it builds a stronger community. I actually think that there's a decent relationship from everything that I see between the La Plata Police Department, definitely the people of La Plata, but also Charles County Sheriff's Office. I've, as a elected official, as a person that's lived in La Plata, I've had great interactions with Charles County. And again, I get it. There's going to be different interactions for everybody. But overall, I think police officers overall want to do a good job for the community. You know, there are very tough situations that they can put themselves into, and we don't have to get into that. There are bad police officers, and they got to go. But there are good police officers that have to stay, right? I think that's fair. Just like sometimes there's good and bad mayors, right?
Some need to stay, some need to go.
Right? I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
Sometimes good and bad. But you know, the LEOPS issue is relatively simple to me. So if we have a below standard pay and below benefits pay, recruiting retention issues are going to plague La Plata at some point. Okay. It's going to cause La Plata to do one of two things. Okay, we're either going to have a smaller police force, right, with just lower quality police officers, because that's just frankly going to be the nature of, okay, you got suspended up in, I don't know, PG. Okay, you got suspended up in PG County. You can go to La Plata, your suspension's over, you're getting lower pay. All right, now we're getting a lower quality police officer. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but that could happen.
And you've seen it, and we've seen it happen nationally,
exactly.
Officers who
you get suspended in Nebraska.
You just switch over,
Utah or whatever, right? And it happens all the time.
Just playing hot potato with
exactly, and you're passing a bad potato in that case, right? And that's not what we want. And then the second thing that could potentially happen is, okay, then we'll just get absorbed by Charles County. Well, La Plata won't receive the same service. Not the fault of the Charles County Sheriff's Office. It's now you're patrolling an area that went from the size of La Plata to the size of Charles County, and Charles County is going to rightfully want to spend their resource, for lack of a better term, in an area that they think they need to spend it, right? And I'm not saying that's right or wrong.
No.
All I'm saying is, as a representative of La Plata right now, I just want to make sure La Plata gets that service.
Okay.
So a couple interesting things here. So one, the fact that the election went in the way that it went, I think the people of La Plata are in favor of LEOPS, because I was not hiding the ball. Two, yes, there were former councils that discussed LEOPS, but to my understanding, there's never been a council that has actually found out the monetary value of LEOPS for La Plata. That's what we voted on. We have not voted for LEOPS to be approved.
Okay.
We have voted on, we want a census to essentially be conducted for us to find out what is the actual price if we wanted to move forward with LEOPS, right? To see if it's financially beneficial or not. They might come back and say it's $100 bajillion a month, and guess what? Mr. LEOPS over here is not voting for it, right? Like, I don't think that'll be the case, right? But that could be the case. So, to my understanding, there's no council that's actually ever gotten that answer before. I think people have talked in the abstract. Well, we think it's going to be expensive, so we can't. But we never had a number before.
Okay.
And it only cost us, I think it was like $7.5 to find out. So, you know, not a crazy number. Something that, again, I think the men and women that suit up and put on the uniform, and I went to a benefits dinner with them, I don't know, 2-3 weeks into my tenure in office, and I was hearing stories about this private first class, you know, getting shot at and stuff, and it's like, you forget about some of these things, you know, living in your comfy house and driving to town hall and debating stipends and all that.
Right.
You forget, like, there's actual people, you know, 2 blocks down dealing with some serious stuff.
Right.
And I don't think it's crazy to ask for them to get an industry standard. If LEOPS was, like, let's call it the Amazon 457 benefits plan. Yeah, I get it. Okay, that's not industry standard, but other municipalities, other counties have this.
Okay.
LEOPS is incredibly well funded in the state of Maryland. Other towns are jumping on board, and I think it'll make us competitive in the process to get a higher quality police officer. When you can say, yes, we pay a little bit less than the average rate in Maryland, but we also have a little bit of a lower cost of living in La Plata, and we can offer you the same benefits plan. And what's interesting is people will say, but Patrick, the police already have a pension. Yes, they do. They have a teacher's pension. So let me ask you this. Are you comfortable with your children getting educated by a 60-year-old? I have no problem with it. I think a 60-year-old could probably read and write fine. I have a problem with a 60-year-old chasing down a perp. And the problem with a 60-year-old chasing down a perp in La Plata is there's no desk function in La Plata. So you are on patrol.
So they're all out.
You're always on patrol because I think it's only 28 people deep. Charles County, there's different you know, things and all that. But for La Plata, like, I don't want a 60-year-old jumping a fence. You know, if my son, heaven forbid, goes missing, I want to ensure that I have a
not much 80-year-olds
exactly,
walking around.
Right? Like, and I got no problem with Mrs. Wheeler over in, you know, English 101, teaching Shakespeare at 70.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, maybe I'd like a little bit of a younger teacher, but I definitely want a younger police officer.
Okay, I get you at that point, and I'm not really gonna push back on the pension side because I understand that.
Yeah.
It makes sense to have a pension.
And just to be fair, if it's way too expensive, I'm not voting for it.
No, definitely.
Right, but we got to find out what the cost is.
No, I get you. And even from like a pro-worker side, I understand everyone deserves a pension. I don't think we should have the 401k system we have. Everyone should have a pension like we used to have. But I will say that I will push back on the claim that police officers or just policing in general make a community safe, because we've even seen where you have in multiple areas throughout the country, we increase police budgets, crime still goes up.
Yep.
And we've seen that sometimes that a lot of it is fixing some of those root causes of why you have crime, because you even have people who talk about Waldorf as like our crime. Yes, it's statistically that like 1% higher. It's really, really low, to be honest. But even looking at it is we don't have really facilities for young people to go to. It's a lot of like economic insecurity too. You have a lot of not a lot of homelessness, but like really deep pockets of poverty too within the county. So I think that I would love to see and this isn't La Plata specific, it's more like a national thought of having more resources go directly to fixing those like direct root causes of why people commit crimes in the first place, rather than use police who, to me, police do not deter crime. They deter a little bit, but they do not keep a community safe or stop crime from happening. 9 times out of 10, they're just responding to crime.
So correct. So a sheriff's office in nature is going to be responsive.
Yeah.
So I actually agree with you, and I don't think the two issues are mutually exclusive. They can happen hand in hand. So you can create, let's just use an example that's realistic here, the Dorchester Community Center, and increase the police budget. What I can promise you is decreasing the police budget will never make a community safer. Right now, increasing the police budget may not make a community safer, to your point, if you're not addressing root causes. So LEOPS, based off of how it's meant to be operated, is a long-term, obviously, pension cost. But it's actually not increasing the ability for the La Plata Police Department to get whatever the next iteration of the M4 is, right? Like that's not what this money is used for. So I don't think it's increasing the police budget in that way.
No, definitely.
But I think both can happen simultaneously. Like, I agree with you, and I'm really glad you brought this up. There's a podcast that I did during the election. Check it out. Grassroots Grow Roots. It's somewhere on the La Plata community page if you want to find it. But this is an issue that we talk about a lot, which is what are you doing for the community to ensure that you're building that cohesive unit where crime is getting deterred before it occurs? Because you're right. If a police officer could stop a crime beforehand, I think there's a movie called Margin Call or something like
Minority
that
Report.
about that.
Yeah, Minority
Report.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here.
I don't know if that's
Or we would
I don't
trust
know if
that.
that's great. Yeah, I think the point of that movie is to walk away going, we don't want that actually, right?
We saw that during the Red Scare. We think you might be doing something. Let's go.
we want our police to be reactive nature because unfortunately people do bad things, right? And it doesn't honestly, like, yes, statistically, is it a certain socioeconomic class or this or that, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? People overall do bad things sometimes. And when that bad thing happens, I would like a police officer there to prevent the bad thing from continuing to happen.
Of course.
But to your point, I want every possible avenue available for that person to have not made that decision to begin with. And I think that begins with, to get on my high horse here from a highfalutin standpoint, right? Getting back to community organizations, going to church, right? Having those family dinners, right? Playing ball in the yard with your neighbor, like all that. Idle hands make the devil's work. Let's have some less idle hands. And I think a way that a community can do that, like La Plata, is, our splash pad, our concert series, maybe a teenage ball or dance or whatever. And again, we're doing a lot of those things, to be fair to La Plata. And
you're right.
Charles County's got like the fair and all that and the events they do. But
and
you are
some
right.
Concert things that are coming up too.
Yeah, but there's more that we can do for sure. I think both can happen at the same time, if that makes sense.
No, I get you there.
Yeah.
I get you there.
Yeah.
I would even say, and not to even harp still on this comment too, is that I think that we do see places where lowering police budget, I will say just doing that in itself is not going to make a community safer. It's taking some of that money and redirecting it, because one of my biggest things is I would rather take money from police departments that say, hey, this is the money that you use to handle mental health issues. Let's put it to someone who can actually do that. Because for a lot of police officers, that's a lot to ask them to handle stuff like that.
To be fair, I'm already operating under that assumption. I get what you're saying. There are job functions that police officers are built for.
Yeah.
And there are job functions that police officers are not built for. Yeah. There are job functions that mental health experts are built for, and there are job functions they're not built for.
Yeah.
I don't want a mental health expert to go find my missing son.
Yeah,
and
right.
I typically, again, there are police officers that can do it, but I don't typically want a police officer to de-escalate a situation that, basically amounted to a kid throwing a tantrum.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I want a police officer to be there when a robbery occurs, and I want a mental health expert there when somebody's trying to commit suicide. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, I get you there.
Yeah.
No,
So I think we're aligned.
Yeah, we're 100%.
Sorry, I was operating under an assumption already.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
And then so David's we're gonna have a separate podcast with David about the water, right?
We can
have a
first of
So
all,
I can, if I don't know what the question is, so let me see the question.
No, he didn't ask a question about
okay,
water.
okay.
Just the
He was
topic
saying
of
it's
water.
like too late for. He was like, that's gonna be a long question for him.
Yeah, fair.
He said
And-
one thing though. He said, where was it? I saw it, Ricky. Can you highlight? Oh, here it is. I'm gonna fight against Charles County selling WSSC water to La Plata, and I'm happy to discuss that at a later date.
Okay, yeah. Again, can't talk too much about this right now at this time, and I did preface that before.
Yeah, no, you did. No, you're good.
There's a lot still in the works that, frankly, we're not even sure what direction we're going, if we have to go any direction. So, all
right, cool.
Yep. No, David, excited to find it out with you.
And then there's one question that Jared put. What about the trash pickup debacle? What's happening with you all's trash?
Yeah, great question.
Okay, you also tell people how you all do trash, because a lot of Charles County residents who don't live in La Plata, we'd be really surprised.
Yeah, excuse me. So the way I understand it is our trash service is handled in-house, meaning it's a town-run function service. I might be wrong. I don't think I am, but feel free to correct me if I am wrong. Again, I don't think I am.
In Charles County, we don't have that at all.
Yes, and I know that's the case. And to be honest with you, I'm getting both mixed up right now. I'm pretty sure La Plata is in-house because that's what we were voting on here. So,
okay, cool.
Real quick, with the trash pickup debacle. So Jared asked this question. I got a lot of emails on this. This was a 3-2 vote. And the two people that voted against it, you're going to probably find a common theme here, was Councilman Sampson and myself. So here's what happened. The way I understand it, it was debated. First, this is the will of the council. So I obviously put out a statement about how to go about this. With that being said, I'm also allowed to have my own opinion. In the state I voted against it. I was in the minority, not protected. So let's get into that. So we had to do, with the new council coming in, the former council, I actually think this was the correct decision. I know this was a hotly debated thing, was they did not pass a budget or fee schedule. And they said, we're not passing a hot potato. This is a contested election. We got some change agents coming in. If they really think what we've been doing is against the interest of La Plata or in the interest of La Plata, let them get their first budget. I actually think that was the right call. I thought that was a very appropriate thing. Some people disagree, whatever you want to call it, but I thought that was the right call. So in our first, I don't know if it was our actual first meeting, but one of our first meetings, we had to basically pass a budget and pass a fee schedule. So we get the budget and we put those amendments in. The 1.5% bonus raise, and the LEOPS, I guess you call it investigation for lack of a better term, like how much this has actually cost. But the other thing that we had to pass was a fee schedule. So taxes are used for your government functions, your services. But fees are used for the actual business itself. So, for example, water is not a tax by definition. It's a fee because you can use less or more water. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So, trash was a fee, is a fee, but was a fee. And it was a set fee. And it was a set fee regardless of how much trash you used. Okay? So we actually had a council member in the previous council who I give a lot of credit to because he would raise his hand and he would say, listen, I'm the first person to tell you I put 15 cans out there. I'm being hyperbolic.
Yeah.
I put 15 cans out there, but I'm only getting charged for one. And I think that's wrong. And I actually want to increase the fee service for how much trash you use. So if you have a second can, you should get charged more. Third can charged more. Fourth can charged, whatever, all the way up, right? All the way up the list. This and that. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And fair. I think it's
sounds-
important for somebody to raise their hand and say that. The problem is I don't think the measure went all the way. So one of the worst things I think you can do in politics is, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything, right? So unfortunately, when I started to really go through the plan that was proposed, and don't quote me on the exact numbers here, but it was something like $100 for your first can, and then $32 for your second can, and something for your third, whatever it was. And only a couple, 100 residents or whatever had 2 cans. So
And is this per month, per quarter?
per billing period. Yep,
Okay.
Yep.
So what's the billing period for you?
for a year, right? So quarterly.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Good question.
Same.
Sorry. Yep.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yep. So billing period, and I think it was like 32 for the second can or something like that. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
good.
But when I asked finance, I said, okay. I said, we're increasing the fees by, I think it was 3% year over year. So it went from like $100 to 103, something like that. And then it went from 0, obviously, for the second can to 32. I said, okay, does this put us back in the black? Right? If a fee costs, just to use even numbers, $1 million to operate, is the town bringing $1 million with this new plan? And she goes, no, we're bringing in a $40,000 deficit, meaning we have to pay for this through another fund or something like that. So, okay. So, thank you for the honesty. She goes, honestly, I budgeted aggressively, so most likely we'll still remain in the black. But this is, if everything comes to fruition, this plan's going to run us in a deficit.
Okay.
I said, okay. I said, and I appreciate that. So, one, this plan doesn't go all the way. One of the most unpopular things you can do as a politician is raise fees more than what your finance director is asking. But I think it's important to go one of two ways here. Don't split the baby, for lack of a better term. Either just stay at the same rate and understand you're going to run a deficit anyway, but provide an exceptional service, right? And use that fund that we're talking about where you have these reserve funds that accrue interest over time and understand that we're pulling from there. Not a great fiscal policy for the record. I'm not advocating for it, but that's one way to go about it because that's what we're doing anyway because we're running a deficit. Or two, well, if it means that we have to go 8%, then just go all the way to 8%, make it 108 and 40 or whatever. And I know that's unpopular to hear, but that's what we should probably do. I said, but the second thing is part of this policy is that we're no longer picking up non-LaPlata trash cans and we're causing people to pay for a second can. But let's say, and I actually said this on the record, I said, let's say somebody only uses a trash can for high periods, birthday party. But then the second trash can goes in the backyard for grass clippings or whatever and is never used for trash. Do they have to pay the fee even though the service isn't being provided to them? And the answer was yes. So I get why the answer is yes. And as finance, it's probably inappropriate for this conversation to be happening between us, which is why not having a town manager was a big deal at the time.
Full circle.
This is an issue that I've said, listen, I get the financial argument you're making. I don't think it goes far enough. And I actually think this is going to cause a lot of heartache to the people of LaPlata that have a second can or use second cans because we're now telling them if it does not fit in the actual LaPlata trash can, we're not picking up that trash anymore. And we can kick and scream and hold our breath till we're blue in the face, put up 1 million Facebook posts and announcements and flyers. There's still going to be 40% of the population that does not get this news when it rolls out, and they're not going to get their trash picked up the way they expect to. Yeah. They're going to be pissed, rightfully so, and this could lead to rodents and infestation, all these different problems. Have we thought about that? No. Director of Public Works at the time gets up. I said, in your estimation as the expert, do you think that this will be a heartache to the people of La Plata? And essentially his answer was yes. I said, okay, for those reasons, I'm voting against this. Now, it's the will of the council. It's the law. I think the explanation for the law does make sense. There's merits to both sides. Use a La Plata can. Why? Well, now we can actually hook it up to the truck. Folks are now less prone to be injured because they're not lifting a non-compliant can. I get all that. I do. I really do. And then again, like, you don't want to be basically given a free service, right? So like if I put out 15 cans, like, one council member admitted to, jokingly, of course, the landfill's only expecting a certain amount of trash, but if La Plata goes over that number, right, that could put us in a bad spot too. So I get why the bill passed. I also get why I voted no for it. But I think it was the worst of all the policies we had in front of us. So I agree it was a debacle. I agree it was a debacle. I wish that we came up with a more definitive answer. If the council either went, nope, we're going to go the full 8%, and yep, we're going to take a political hit for this, but it is what it is. Or, you know what, nope, if we're already running a deficit, let's just run the deficit and provide a world-class service. Because Councilman Sampson said it best. I'm going to be sitting here on this podcast next year after we do the budget, and we're going to have to increase the fee again because we didn't increase it enough this year.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
Okay.
Yep. No. So great question there. Did that answer the question?
No,
I went on a super long tangent.
Yeah. Thank you, because you explained more than the question. And
I went super
your
long.
vote too.
Sorry.
So thank you. I love that.
Yeah.
So yes, then we have. Or Ricky, did you have any follow up on that?
No, that was pretty detailed. I'm fine with that. Let's.
So can I go one thing real quick?
And then that will wrap up and get out of here.
You want to go to Pascal's question too before we wrap?
Is that the one you're going to, Patrick?
Yeah, I could go to that one too.
Oh, go ahead.
If that's okay. They're talking about teachers. Go
ahead.
Or housing relief for teachers.
Yeah.
I admittedly don't know what's in the purview right now, but that's something that if you really want to bring up, please email me directly on this. We have a retreat on September 11th, so please get it to me before September 11th. Because the council's actually going to get together for a retreat on that day, and we're talking through priorities for the next couple of years. So if that's something that there's a lot of appetite for, and admittedly I haven't heard that at this time, not saying that that's not the case, definitely interested in that. Now, Jax brings up an interesting comment to close it out. Obviously, I do not think that a mental health break and a tantrum are the same thing. Yeah. We were using an example earlier with different professionals that respond to different situations, and I actually believe I was using my son, who's 1 year old, as the example there. So, I get it, but I just want to make sure it doesn't go unfounded.
Yes, clear up everything.
I would actually argue that you and I are on the same page here, which is mental health is so incredibly serious. You want a specialized person or unit to be addressing that. That's what we were talking about. But again, Pascal, is that the pronunciation? Please, if this is that important and you know other people that are interested in this, email it to me so I can get it on the September 11th discussion. Can't promise that means that the rest of the council is interested in it or anything like that, but if that's something we're interested in, let's find out if we can do it.
What's the email?
P. McCormick, so just my first initial last name at townoflaplata.org.
And also for legislation, you mentioned there was an email
legislative at townoflaplata.org.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Yep. So if you email legislative, input like I would like this read as a public comment or I want this on the record. It's the same thing as putting a comment onto the town website. So instead of doing like all the clicks, just send your email to legislative or send it to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so much easier. So much more accessible.
The county needs to start looking at you all and how you all do things, because that'd be so much easier than how we have to go.
More streamlined.
Right?
Yeah.
So so my last question on this too was, actually it's a two-part question. One, do you know how many terms the mayor has served?
Yeah, so I believe she's been elected. This is her third win. So I want to say
it's 4 years per term, right?
Yeah, so I want to say, what is that? 17, 21, 25, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So I think that's correct.
Wow. So what are your thoughts on term limits for either the mayor or this town council as well?
Yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm coming off as I'm wishy-washy on the topic. I don't know. So I've seen a lot of debate right now. The county, I think, is talking about this. And I've been convinced both ways, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So there's the let's have a cigar and a whiskey real quick and bring out the founding father letters. Well, it's the will of the people. That's the ordinary term limit, and you can vote anybody out at any time. That is the term limit. Yeah, I agree. But we also tell the president after 8 years, get out, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, and I understand that was an amendment and it wasn't in the original Constitution, but we did change it. So I think I could be convinced either way. I know it's the worst answer in the world.
No, you're good. No, you're
and
good.
I said earlier, like, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything. But with that being said, I will make up my mind on it at some point, especially if it comes to fruition, because then obviously, what do you call them? County commissioners will have an actual vote. Yeah. And then that'll influence how I vote. Right?
I think in October is when they have the public hearing for the legislation.
So I want to wait for the arguments to kind of be presented. Okay. Like, what does this mean for Charles County itself? Now I can speak to La Plata because I'm a La Plata individual. I would say right now, probably not. Right? I would say right now, probably not. The reason I would say that is I don't think there was a single holdover from 2017 to 2021 other than the mayor. And there was not a single holdover from 2021 to 2025. So the argument there would be...
Other than the mayor again.
So the argument there would be need on my case. Okay. The people of La Plata decided she is duly elected. Mm-hmm. She should hold the office. She should be able to be the mayor of La Plata. Totally agree. Mm-hmm. People of La Plata picked that. So I don't think there's a need in La Plata right now. Now, if we found out that I'm in office for 10 years... Yeah, let's probably talk about that, right? You know, if I'm in office for 15, 16, 20
It'd be 12 years when if everything goes...
12 for the mayor.
Correct, but only one person. I'm talking about that whole unified body is in office for the whole time, right? If you got only one person in for 12 years, but all that change underneath, I think if the government's working correctly, the change should still be happening, right?
And I think that does lead to a little bit of an issue as, in full transparency, as someone who was one of the people pushing for term limits countywide.
Yep, and to be fair, I haven't made a decision on countywide.
Yep. Oh, no, definitely. I'll say that one thing for that is that what I've seen in some situations is if you have just like one person as a holdover, and we're just going to use the town council as an example. But if you have like the mayor as the only holdover, you have a lot of town council members who'll be like, well, I got to go along with the mayor because they've been here the longest, so they must know what's going on. And you have that kind of seniority and like, hey, I got this. You listen to me and let me run the show. Mm-hmm. I think that runs up a problem. I do get what you're saying about how, and it's also been something that I've talked to multiple people about. About the thing of like,
at some point the people will decide.
Do the people decide? And then it's also like, are the people?
But if I'm in office for that long and I can get this monetary train where I could shut down the competition before the election even starts, I also get that. And I think
especially because no one knows how much money you all raised unless
for a town election. I get that. Yep.
Which I just think. Just not going back to that point. It's just one of the... Rick, have you ever heard of something like that?
No.
That's one of the oddest things that honestly...
Not releasing your finances, and then on top of that, you don't have...
any reporting system at all.
No. Also, there's no term limits as far as how long you can be in office. I mean, you can be in office 30, 40 years if you were young enough when you got in.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep. And again, like you would hope at some point, if you're in for 30 years and you're not doing a good job... the people would vote you out. But
look at some of these Congress people who've been in there.
I don't
they just Congress.
But to be fair, Congress is way different because you're talking millions of dollars for those elections, right? Yeah. So, like, even if there's a bad person, I'm not saying this person is bad or not bad, but Steiny Hoyer's been in office since what? 18.
You don't have to say. I'll say it. He's a bad person.
Yeah, I don't think either way.
No, you're right.
Right?
No, you're right.
But let's say 1820, I think was his first election. Parody, joking, obviously, but Mitch McConnell, right? If you want to go on the other side,
that's like 1010. He was elected.
Yeah. He was elected in 1776. Before the actual founding of the country.
Oh yeah, he was. But he was bringing them over.
Yeah. I mean these people have been in office forever. To your point, you are right, and it almost feels like there is no mechanism, right? Because even if you get this highly energetic candidate ready to go represent the will of the people, if I can't get the ad buys and on the media and all that, I almost don't have a starting point. So I do get both sides, right? And I want to make sure I'm making that clear. I don't think there's a need right now in La Plata because there hasn't been, to my knowledge, other than the mayor right now, like a council member that's been a holdover from a single election since 2017 before COVID, right? Like,
and as you talked about earlier, you all have some council members who run unopposed at all.
Yeah, I mean, Ward 4. Yep. So
Ward 4 had that twice happen, right? The first.
I think it was
Evelyn. Wasn't it?
Evelyn Bryant Ward was Ward 3, and I'm pretty sure she ran unopposed. The mayor ran unopposed for one of the elections.
Oh my gosh. There was one election I heard on the news or something, or like Southern Maryland news or something, that the La Plata Chamber of Commerce, like business association, basically put a slate together and they ran everyone.
I don't know about that. Yeah, because and I want to be clear.
2021.
I think
Yeah,
so.
and
something.
the reason why I want to be clear on that is slate actually has a like legal term
Yes,
assigned
yeah,
to it, so
no,
I
you're
don't
right,
know
no,
if it
you're
was a
right,
slate or
no, you're
not.
right.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely candidates that run together, right? Like, I don't think it's any secret. We were going on podcasts saying, vote for PPT, Paul Pataijan,
Well,
like,
that's
like we were saying,
That's kind of cool. I like that. I like that.
PowerPoint, we're saying stuff
Right,
like
go
that,
Go for the PowerPoint.
but yeah, no, it's again, we got to find out if that's an issue. Now, I don't think it's something that La Plata needs right now. We might have to discuss it, and then for the county thing, I do want to hear both sides of the argument on the record.
Okay.
And then obviously, I'm going to have to vote in the District 1 election. And depending on what BJ says about this and other issues, we'll determine if I don't know if he's running again, but if he decides.
Oh, no, he filed. He's running
Okay,
again.
so if he
Yeah.
runs again, either vote for him or don't vote for him. But it depends on what he says, and that I'll have to make a decision at that point, right? So I just want to wait for all the arguments to come out first on that. If that
We'll
makes
have
sense.
I think we got a term limits podcast on the way.
Good,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do.
And
Yeah.
I think it's important to educate people on it. So I've heard people arguing like, does it backdate to a certain point? Does it start today? And again, I think it's relatively straightforward when you read it. I don't want to be that guy.
But
there are people that ask that question a lot. So
you're
I
right.
think
lot of
having a
people don't
podcast
know.
on it would be
And
great.
it's a lot of people who are saying like, oh, and me and David Heidelbach have actually gotten into this a little bit in the Facebook comment section of when people say, oh, it's retroactive. My case is the current bill that came out is not retroactive because it only counts this current term. So it's not looking retrospectively at anything else but the current term you're serving now forward. So technically, every commissioner who's in there can run for re-election again.
Okay,
if they
yeah.
wanted
So
to.
and
Yep.
again, that's how I interpreted
Yep.
it. I thought that was. Again, I thought it was straightforward, but there are people, if you go
No.
onto like
Oh, no.
Charles County Matters or the
know.
Plata Community Group, they're, well,
course.
is it backdated? None of them can run again. They could all run until they're 50. It's like,
It's like, no.
no.
Relax.
read the proposal, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, let's
turn
just relax
on
a
the
little
meeting.
bit.
Yeah, reread it. It's
Yeah.
going to be okay.
And then making sure people know this isn't affecting no one's doing this for a particular commissioner because it would affect all of them. So it's not
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's
Yeah,
always
and,
gotta-
and I also think
across
that's
the board.
important because it's not targeting one district, right? It's okay. If we're gonna do this, we're all doing it together.
Yep.
And if we're not gonna do it, then it's gonna
We're not
be
doing it
not
together.
applied together.
There you go. I love that.
No,
and
that's
then I guess wrapping up last thing from Derek.
Quick question, quick answer for Derek.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what he's referring to.
Okay, I'll just read it out.
yeah,
real
go
quick. So yo from Mexico, what's up? Quick question: what would you say to certain commissioners who say La Plata is draining county resources but want to take credit for your accomplishments?
Yeah, I don't know if he's referring to something specific, to be honest with you, but what I can tell you right now, 93 days in, I haven't had a fight with the commissioner yet. And I say yet. I'm
Hooray.
sure there will be one at some point, right? And when I say fight, I mean a political disagreement, of course. Just real quick.
We're not having that right now.
Before, I was watching What's Good DMV.
Right.
Councilman McCormick said he was going to fight,
We're gonna square up in the parking lot real quick.
Yeah, like, no,
Somebody
it's
cut
not
it
what I
up,
said.
edit it.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know what he was referring to. I haven't seen anything where like there's been a contention between credit. I've seen a lot of blame passing,
There has
and I actually think guilt on both sides. To be fair, and I've said this
wow.
before. Big reason I ran was again I don't think I think there's a big trust issue in La Plata, and I think we have to extend a knowledge branch to the county, and the county's got to certainly extend one back, and we're gonna have to kumbaya at some point. I think that's fair to say. But yeah, no, I don't know anything about an individual or a commissioner taking credit for something we've done because I don't think LEOPS, the bonus, the trash pickup, trying to investigate this has been something the commissioners are involved
Has this
in.
been something to your knowledge that Commissioner Bowling has spoken on the stipend? at all?
No, so I haven't seen any comments from Commissioner Bowling. What's interesting is I've heard a couple of rumors like you and Commissioner Bowling are best friends. I never talked to Commissioner Bowling until the day that I met him at the Democratic event. And I think I met him once after when I won election, and he invited every council member and said, congrats, welcome to the club, gave you a good nod and said, if you need anything, let me know. Okay. And that's it.
It went off.
Yep.
It went off on his way.
Right.
Yep. So
Like, that's the extended
I've heard that accusation before.
Really? Wow.
I don't know if this is like the place or anything like that, but yeah, I mean, No. I don't know how to say it. Like it's such a crazy thing. Like,
Yeah.
do I like Commissioner Bowling? I think he's doing a job like any other public servant, right? I think it's tough. I'm interested to see if anybody else runs in that race. I'm a big fan of getting as many people to run. I hope if I ever run again, there's 50 people I'm competing against.
Love to see it.
Because I want the best voice to win, right? I want the best leader to
And good
win.
ideas can come out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course,
But
absolutely.
what I am interested in for Commissioner Bowling and the other commissioners is I believe there's going to be a change this election cycle to the district is now going to pick. It's not at large
Yep.
anymore. And I'm excited to see folks spend more time with their residents. Not saying that Commissioner Bowling does not spend time in District 1. Just now it'll be incentivized by the election structure to do that.
Focus.
Yeah.
I like it.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting to go from.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. But no, I mean,
between the
I haven't-
primaries,
yep.
generals.
Yeah,
'cause-
I will tell you, I haven't seen a single bad thing from the county for La Plata in 93 days in office.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it's not happening or it won't happen. But
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that's why I said yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I've had a very positive experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, we haven't had any policy overlap yet either. So
cool.
I'm sure once that starts to happen, we'll get into the county wants this and we want that and you're the little brother, we're the big brother, whatever. But no, everything's been fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
the fights have been in house.
I love it. Derek mentioned the one last time, but go ahead, Rick.
Yeah.
Water. Yeah, we'll
As the one thing y'all disagree on
yeah,
is water,
well-
but nah.
yeah, we'll come back to that. We'll do
We
water
gotta do
properly.
a water podcast. one day.
Yeah. David, I gotta.
It's a huge
yeah,
conversation.
water's water deserves its own pod, and we kind of talk
Yeah.
a little bit, but we'll
does.
we'll cycle through that.
That's a lot.
We're
It
not.
does. Yeah, and bring in some experts, man. Like
Definitely.
help everybody out. Like we're elected officials. We are not water experts, engineers, anything like. We come from different backgrounds, and there are people with an engineering background, but they are not. I promise you, the engineer that you need for the problems in town. So the more you guys do stuff like this, and other people that are watching this, go grab a microphone on the podcast, set this up. Go throw a blog on Facebook. If you got one reader, that's one reader more than you would have had. Put this information out there, man. So thank you
That's
both
it.
for doing this.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. First of all, we reached out to you like late last week, and very
quick response, all that. So thank you.
Yeah, please keep plugging that. And anybody out there, I challenge you, if you send me an email and I haven't responded to it, post it in Facebook because I think that's very important for a person in a public position to do is answer quickly. Even if the answer is no, hey, I couldn't be here, right?
At least you give an answer.
Put an answer out.
Sure.
There. So, so thank you for that. Thanks for
That's
asking.
100 times better than a lot of elected officials around.
Yeah, no, thanks
Not
for
just this
asking.
county, the whole state.
Yeah.
Country.
Yep.
And so, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
A lot of questions. Start off just talking, obviously, the latest news with Mayor James. Then we went to conversation with some things on the Plata. So, and obviously, you're the first individual we've ever had on them since we've been doing this podcast with the Plata. So,
Yeah.
appreciate the
Yeah,
insight with all
absolute
that.
honor to do
Shout out
that.
to that.
Let me close
Absolutely.
with a couple things if that's okay.
Go ahead.
So
Go
first
ahead.
and foremost, thank you again. All right, really thank you. Second, like I stated earlier, if anybody here is listening, it may be your first time hearing these issues. It may be your millionth time. You may have nefarious, beliefs or thinking that I'm going about this the wrong way. Again, everything that I presented has facts, is sourced, is evidenced. I'm only asking questions. I have not alleged any of these things have happened. I'm just asking that we need the answers to these questions. And as everybody knows, the truth is the absolute defense against defamation. So nothing here has been defamatory or inflammatory in nation. I think I've said that a couple of times now, but it's important to get it out there. These are all my opinions, but they are sourced, obviously, by things that are readily available for anybody out there who's not a council member. With that being said, I love feedback, solicit feedback. Somebody asked, would you door knock for this issue? Let me be honest, no. I door knocked a lot during the election. Email, Facebook, you can call me. I'll come to you directly. But to do blanketed door knocking for an issue like this, I don't think is appropriate, right? I think if we were to do, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I think we had a Walmart recall vote a couple years ago in La Plata where they're going to build a Walmart and 20% of the population had to get together to speak against it. If something like that were to come up, yeah, we'll be door knocking, right? But this is not an issue that requires door knocking. But again, legislative@townoflaplata.org. Reach out to me directly, any of your council members directly, the mayor directly, Chuck Stevens directly on these issues. You'll get an answer. I hope you'll definitely get an answer from me if you reach out to me. I'm honored to be your Ward 2 rep. So thank you very much for all of you that came out and voted. Even if you didn't vote for me, being involved in the process is incredibly important. I hope next election cycle, every ward has at least 2 people running. I hope every ward has primaries and primaries to the primaries. I want everybody involved.
You want to be primaried?
Absolutely, I want to be primary. I want the best voice, and that's if I'm lucky enough to want to run again. But I want as many people as possible involved in as many levels of government. So please get out there, be involved, do these things. It's incredibly important. I appreciate your trust. I know that this is not a fun, easy topic to talk about, and I'd much rather be here talking about high-level debates about LEOPS and where can we best spend our community resources and what is required to make an adequate public facilities ordinance. But you cannot have those conversations until the structure is set. My personal opinion, I don't think the structure is set. So that's why I'm harping on it. I'm harping on it because y'all keep emailing me. Now start emailing some other people. Let's put pressure on them.
There we go.
And let's make it happen. But thank you guys. Thank you everybody for listening. Who's going to listen after this goes? Shout out to my son John. Be in bed. Shout out to my wife Alyssa. Hopefully you're up. I don't know if you will or won't be. If you're not up, we'll talk tomorrow. But thank you guys very much. This was a lot of fun. And Mayor James, Councilman Gutenberg, Johnson, Sampson. Feel free to take. I don't know if you're inviting them. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Of course,
but please feel free to come through here and share your opinion. Do not be afraid. You are allowed to have your own opinion. Share it as long as it's truthful, factual, and it's not intending to commit malice, which none of the things I'm doing here are tonight. I don't think anything that anybody on the council has tried to do. So if you want to talk about planning commission or historic preservation board or whatever, come on out here. I think these two gentlemen would be more than happy to have you.
We'd love it.
Let's get more people involved. Thank you guys.
All community based for sure. Carlos, anything before we get out of here?
No. Thank you again. Thank you again for doing this. Thank you for answering the questions. And I'll say this. Thank you for bringing the receipts. So like bringing actual records to show what's going on and stuff. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys.
It's amazing.
And I think I got one of my kids at the door. Oh, that's my bad.
All good.
What is she?
Saying the pizza's here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, if y'all want a slice.
Okay.
No, thank you so much.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some.
Yeah, for sure.
Are we off or
ask me.
on?
Well, we're still on.
still on.
Close out
No
real quick.
problem.
Close out real quick.
Oh, we're just
No,
going
you're
for it. Yeah. Appreciate both of you.
Always.
And we'll I don't know what the next one's going to be. We'll talk.
We'll figure it
discuss
out.
discuss on the side. We'll go from there. But
We got some
Patrick,
options.
yeah, appreciate you very much.
Thank you guys.
And what's good, DMV, BNY, Charles County, La Plata. Thank you very much too. We'll see you soon.
Awesome.